31%. Chapter 181 War begins. Believers are fearless. Boom, 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 boom. On top of the towering city walls, one after another, the 18-meter-long magic cannons relentlessly bombard the undead army outside the city. The impact area of the shells is thousands of meters away. With just one shot, hundreds of undead creatures within a few hundred meters are wiped out. In just one round of bombardment, over 100,000 undead creatures are killed. Unfortunately, the Overlord profession does not receive any primal energy rewards for killing enemies with war weapons, apart from dropping loot. Otherwise, with a few more rounds of bombardment, Lin Yu's level could potentially reach Transcendent late stage. Of course, it's already great to be able to obtain equipment, blueprints, gold coins, and other loot. There's no need to think about it. After this wave of war, Lin Yu's gains will be unimaginable. Bang 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 bang. Suddenly, the city walls of the territory tremble as if they have been heavily struck. Looking up, a large number of boulders are seen flying and smashing onto the city walls like projectiles. Instantly, the durability of the city walls drops by several hundred points. Catapults. On the eastern city wall, a group of 6 winged angels stands. They all turn their gaze towards a few thousand meters away. With the help of the observation tower, they can easily see the situation in that area. In that area, there are towering catapults, several tens of meters high, operated by dozens of tall undead monks. They continuously transport and bombard the city walls of their territory. The undead monks are large undead monsters. Each one is about 10 meters tall. Bald, with bloated rotting flesh all over. As for the catapults they operate, don't ask why the undead camp has catapults, don't ask how they were made, and don't ask where the undead creatures brought these catapults from. In any case, the appearance of the undead catapults is a fact. And there are a lot of them. In just a short moment, a large number of catapults appear in other areas outside the city. All of them are operated by large-sized abhorrent undead, forming a circle centered around Lin Yu's territory, about 3,000 meters away, surrounding Lin Yu's territory. Roughly estimated, there are at least 1,000 catapults. It's simply terrifying. With so many catapults, if most of the projectiles hit, it would only take 3 to 5 rounds of attacks to destroy Lin Yu's city walls. Not to mention that at this moment, there are countless undead creatures attacking the city walls from outside. And they are all middle to high-level undead creatures. Most likely, they also know that low-level undead creatures cannot break through the defense of the middle-level city walls, so the undead army directly uses elite undead to attack. On one side, there is the bombardment of thousands of catapults. On the other side, there is the siege of countless middle to high-level undead elites. If this continues, Lin Yu's territory walls will at most last 1 or 2 hours before becoming ruins. By that time, the undead army will invade the territory. Intruding into the creator's territory, face destruction. Just as several 6-winged angels were preparing to give orders to destroy those undead catapults, 2 towering 7-meter-tall 8-winged fallen angels, resembling goddesses clad in blood armor, stepped forward. They stood in the sky above the city walls. Holding the blood-dripping fallen angel swords, they pointed their swords towards the outside of the city. Fallen angels of transcendent level, obey our command and break through the enemy's catapult legion. All fallen angel legions, concentrate your attack on the northern area of the territory. These 2 8-winged fallen angels are none other than the recently summoned Mercedia and Aphrodite. Understood. In an instant, dozens of large-sized fallen angels soar into the sky. They transformed into blood shadows, following behind 2 8-winged fallen angels, charging straight towards the undead catapult positions 3 kilometers away. Flames of the blood fan. Black sea whirlpool. God dark touch. Boom 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 boom. Terrifying hellish power erupted at the undead army's catapult positions. Instantly, a large number of catapults were forcefully destroyed. At the same time, the fallen angels responsible for controlling those catapults were also killed by the powerful fallen angels. And it didn't stop at death. Their blood power and soul power were completely devoured. Dozens of transcendent-level fallen angels were like bulldozers. Wherever they went, all the undead catapults were destroyed. During this process, several bone dragons roared as they descended from the sky, spewing cold dragon breath towards the fallen angels. Lowly undead creatures. Even in hell, we fallen angels are the toys. Who gave you the courage to dare invade the territory of the Creator? 8-winged fallen angel Mercedia was extremely violent, soaring into the sky and grabbing a bone dragon by its wings, forcefully dragging it down and slamming it onto the ground. Then, with a single sword, she pierced through the head of that bone dragon and simultaneously devoured its soul fire. Seeing this scene, the flying undead creatures gathered in the sky, such as the stone oak ghost, specter, mirror ghost, and ghost dragon, all flew hundreds of meters away, not daring to approach these fallen angels at all. It's our turn. An 8-winged divine angel appeared out of thin air. She had a delicate and beautiful face, holding a scepter and wearing an exquisite crown. Above her perfectly proportioned figure, there was an extremely rich holy radiance. She was one of the unique 8-winged dominion angels summoned by Lin Yu this time, with the authority to command all the angel legions in the territory. Lin Yu named her Catherine. Whoosh 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 whoosh. With a command from 8-winged dominion angel Catherine. On the city walls, over 30,000 divine angels turned into a torrent of holy light and charged out of the territory. Immediately following them were the territory's Forest Troll Legion, Goblin Legion, Grey Dwarf Legion, and Dark Elf Legion, among other native believer legions. It is worth mentioning, today, the Angel Legion has eradicated over 20 native power strongholds. Among them, some of the native strongholds were unlucky enough to be attacked by the fallen Angel Legion and were wiped out without even raising a white flag. Only the native strongholds that encountered the Divine Angel Legion had the opportunity to be redeemed. After a day, the Divine Angel Legion has successfully recruited over 40,000 native intelligent beings, including forest trolls, goblins, and others. They have all joined Lin Yu's territory and become Lin Yu's believers. As of now, the number of Lin Yu's subjects has exceeded 150,000. Among them, the number of angels and forest trolls is the highest, accounting for more than half of all subjects. Kill. Praise the great holy Lord. In the name of the holy light, purify these evil creatures. In the rear of the angel army, countless forest trolls, goblins, dark elves, grey dwarfs, roared as they charged into the densely packed undead army outside the city. They followed the footsteps of the angel army in the war. Like a suicide squad, and like fearless fanatics, they engaged in an incredibly fierce battle with the undead creatures, defending the majesty of the God of faith. Fearless fanatic believers. 31%. Chapter 182 The Cute Cupid's Arrow. In the high sky corresponding to the walls of the territory. At this moment, countless flying undead creatures gathered. Bone dragons, ghost dragons, stone oak ghosts, specters. Like a swarm of bees, they are countless. However, they did not swoop into Lin Yu's territory from the sky, as if they were intercepted by an invisible vertical barrier. Some flying undead creatures kept diving down to attack the walls of Lin Yu's territory. This is because of the rules of the floating island. Only by destroying the walls of the territory can native creatures enter the territory of the overlord profession, whether they are ground monsters or flying monsters. If there is a magic defense shield, they also have to destroy the magic defense shield. This is the final protection of the world rules of the floating island for the overlord profession. However, this protection is actually not very effective. After all, undead creatures even have siege weapons like catapults. If it were other overlord professionals, their territory walls would have been destroyed by those catapults long ago, and only Lin Yu's territory could hold on until now. Chirp 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 chirp. At this moment, a large number of pink arrows flew into the sky. In the center of the arrows, there were even 2 red hearts. Similar to this heart. They look cute and dreamy. But don't underestimate these arrows. Because they are the arrows of the god of love. Only saw these illusory pink arrows, after shooting out, each one pierced many flying undead creatures, and then they froze. The next second, these flying undead creatures hugged each other. Some are 2 or 3. Some are a dozen. This is because the number of undead creatures hit by each arrow varies. The common point is that as long as they are hit by the same arrow of the god of love, those flying undead creatures will deeply love each other, and this other party may also be multiple different types of undead creatures. Stone oak ghosts and specters fall in love. Bone dragons and specters, stone oak ghosts, mirror ghosts fall in love. Howling tells the love for each other in their hearts. The chaotic scene is simply astonishing. The undead creatures nearby that were not hit by the arrows of the god of love looked at their companions hugging and entwining each other, and they were directly confused. They even ignored attacking the walls below. What's going on? In the midst of war, how can they fall in love? Hey, you are a bone dragon, a specter, and a vampire. This is against the laws of nature. Quickly separate, you will not have happiness. Higher level undead creatures kept shouting and shaking their spiritual consciousness. Some even wanted to approach and separate those undead creatures hugging each other, but they were just hammered and almost torn into pieces by these lovers in love. At the same time, the pink heart-shaped arrows kept shooting into the sky, making a chirping sound wherever they went. Not a single dog was left. The flying undead creatures in other areas were so scared that their expressions twisted, and they ran away in groups, not daring to approach Lin Yu's territory anymore. Now it is no longer a matter of life and death, but it concerns the dignity of their undead creatures. If the news spreads, how can they still be undead? Amazing. Lin Yu, who walked out of the Hall of the Overlord, was also confused for a long time when he saw this scene. Finally, he weirdly exclaimed. In the distance, Angel of Love surely flew over with joy and said sweetly, "Thank you for the praise, my lord." Looking at the petite and cute angel girl who seemed to have walked out of the two-dimensional world, Lin Yu suddenly had the urge to hold her in his arms. Of course, the main reason was to touch the 6 snow-white wings behind her that were different from other holy angels and fluffy, coupled with those shiny golden eyes. It's really cute. Lin Yu couldn't help but reach out and pinch Angel of Love Shirley's cheek. While experiencing the delicate touch, he smiled and said, "Keep up the good work. When your arrows of love can hit the goddesses on the myriad worlds battlefield, I will appoint you as an archangel." Hearing this, the cute Angel of Love widened her eyes. Then she vigorously nodded her head, extremely excited. Becoming an archangel is the dream of all little angels, including those 12-winged seraphim, throne angel, wisdom angel. They also dream of becoming archangels, because in the divine domain of the Lord, archangels are the core high-ranking beings. Generally speaking, 12-winged angels may not have the opportunity to access the center of power in the divine domain, simply because there are too many of them, and they are only the commanders of the army, compared to the massive angel army in the divine domain of the Lord. There are countless commanders at the 12-winged level. Only archangels can enter the highest sacred hall. My lord, I will work very hard. Well, go. Lin Yu smiled and rubbed the head of the cute angel. After Angel of Love Shirley happily flew away, he came to the vicinity of the territory's warehouse and chose a suitable area to build 2 warehouses. Other territories at the town level can build 3 warehouses. Then, Lin Yu upgraded all 3 warehouses to town level reserve. And they were directly upgraded to high level. Town level reserve. Level. High level. Reservable resources. 10 million units. Next level. City level reserve. Upgrade requirement 1. 100,000 units of wood, 50,000 units of stone, 30,000 units of iron ore. Upgrade requirement 2. City level territory. 3 town level reserve warehouses, capable of storing 30 million units of resources. It's enough for now. While speaking, Lin Yu stored all the resources, including food, wood, stone, and iron ore, that had piled up into mountains in the northern area of the territory into the warehouses. With such a high storage capacity, he didn't have to worry about overflowing in the short term. In addition to the warehouses, the town-level territory can also build a second blacksmith workshop and a second city wall. 2 city walls can divide the territory into the inner city area and the outer city area. He planned to build them when the number of his subjects increased. At that time, the inner city would be the residence of him, angels, and dark elves. The outer city area would be the residential area for goblins, forest trolls, and other racial subjects. When the kingdom is established, he can continue to divide the territory into different zones. For example, core area, inner city area, outer city area, and ordinary area, etc. By different residential areas, the subjects can be further divided. With various reward and punishment systems, the desire for promotion among the subjects can be stimulated. After all, the closer to the core area, the closer to him, the god of faith. The welfare treatment would definitely be better. Of course, this is something to consider in the future. As for the second blacksmith workshop, he can only wait for the blueprint to appear. Lin Yu opened the glory contribution ranking and took a look. So far, there were already more than 30 overlords on the list, all of whom had captured local strongholds. While Lin Yu was developing, other overlords were also developing. However, their glory points were not many. Sha Qingyu, who ranked second, only had 1,500 glory points. It should be that she had captured 5 local strongholds. As for Lin Yu's glory points, they reached a staggering 17,800, far ahead of Sha Qingyu in second place. Originally, my goal was to exchange for the Curse of the Lich King. It costs 5,000 glory points. But now, I'm not interested in it anymore. My goal is the Origin Scepter, worth 40,000 glory points. Among all the divine weapon level items, its value is the highest. No rush, I still have time. In about 7 days, the glory menu will refresh, and the prices will skyrocket. I have enough time to gather the remaining glory points. For some reason, Lin Yu felt that the divine weapon called the Origin Scepter was a perfect match for him. Among the numerous divine weapon level items, he was immediately drawn to it. Then, Lin Yu went to the city wall of the territory. He didn't have to worry about being attacked because as long as the city wall was not destroyed, any attack would be ineffective against him. This was also the rule of the floating island. At this moment, the hundreds of magic cannons on the city wall were still bombarding the undead army outside the city like perpetual motion machines. And the war outside the city was also intense. Facing the vast undead army, the troops in his territory began to suffer casualties. Fortunately, under Lin Yu's command, there was an angel of love. This cute angel of love stood tall in the sky above the battlefield, waving her divine staff and pouring down a brilliant holy light. In an instant, the fallen troops in that area were resurrected on the spot. And they were resurrected with full health and mana. It proved once again that the healer on the battlefield was the most powerful. 31%. Chapter 183. Looking forward to the sacred domain. A refreshing feeling. As the war continued, Lin Yu felt a large amount of primal energy converging towards him. And it was continuous. His intuition told him that he would soon be able to break through again. From the early stage of Transcendent, he would advance to the mid-stage of Transcendent. The higher the level of a professional, the more difficult it is to level up. Especially at the levels of Transcendent, Saint rank, and Demigod, many professionals may not be able to level up for 1 or 2 weeks. However, this does not apply to Lin Yu. The reason is simple: the size of his legion of troops is growing faster. Ignoring the summoning of angels and the breeding of dark elves. Just the increase in local believers recruited by the holy angels is around tens of thousands per day. Yesterday, his population was 100,000. By this evening, when the main force returned, the population had reached 150,000. An increase of 50%. The size of the legion of troops also increased, reaching around 120,000. Such a terrifying growth rate means that Lin Yu's leveling speed is far beyond comparison with other professionals. Even now that he has entered the transcendent stage, his leveling speed is still very rapid. Tonight, my level can reach the mid-stage of transcendent. Or even the late stage of transcendent. Next, I will prepare for the promotion to saint rank. For an overlord professional to promote to saint rank and master the power of the domain, the conditions are the same as promoting to king level and transcendent, requiring the killing of 10 enemies at the saint rank level. So far, only Angelia under his command has killed a saint rank green dragon. In other words, there are still 9 more to go. And before gathering the 10 kills at the saint rank level, even if his level has reached the threshold of breaking through to the late stage of transcendent, he cannot promote to saint rank. This is not the floating island maliciously hindering the professional's level. On the contrary, the floating island is already good enough to professionals. At least it doesn't require professionals to comprehend the domain and promote to saint rank on their own. If promoted in this way, the majority of professionals could be stuck at the late stage of transcendent for a lifetime. After all, how could players comprehend the domain? Therefore, the floating island has already treated professionals very well. When stepping into saint rank and mastering the domain, players need to rely on themselves to comprehend the laws and promote to demigod. The domain is the threshold of the laws. The floating island bestows professionals with domains suitable for them, opening the door to the laws for professionals. If, under these circumstances, professionals cannot promote to demigod, then it is doomed. Of course, during this process, the floating island will also provide certain assistance to professionals in promoting to demigod through various means. In short, as long as they work hard and strive for progress, every professional has the opportunity to reach the peak. I wonder what domain is suitable for me. Lin Yu sensed the constantly increasing primal energy in his body and was also full of anticipation for the upcoming path to saint rank. In the world of the floating island, saint rank is also a top powerhouse. Without demigods, saint rank is invincible. Once promoted to saint rank, Lin Yu can completely dominate on the blue star. After all, the blue star doesn't even have demigods. Time quickly came to midnight. The catapult camp of the undead army had long been destroyed. However, this did not affect the undead army's attack on Lin Yu's territory. On the contrary, as time entered midnight, the undead army's attacks became even more fierce. With the help of nearly 100 watchtowers scattered around the territory, Lin Yu could clearly see that undead creatures, like a vast ocean, were converging towards his territory from all directions. Some come from even farther regions. Some emerge directly from underground. In any case, they are countless. With this relentless and fierce onslaught, there is no territory that can withstand it. At this stage, even the territory of an apex-level overlord has long been conquered. However, for Lin Yu's territory, this kind of attack is nothing. This is because the undead army only has one advantage, which is its large numbers and massive scale. But the disadvantage is that they lack a decisive weapon to determine victory or defeat. Among the undead army, there are very few true powerhouses. At most, they are just a group of transcendents. There isn't a single undead at the saint rank level. Especially after the Catapult Legion was destroyed, it became even more difficult for the undead army to conquer Lin Yu's territory. Now, they can't even get close to the walls of Lin Yu's territory. Countless unstoppable angel legions, leading fearless territorial troops, forcefully block the undead army hundreds of meters away from the walls. Not only on the ground. The undead creatures in the sky are the same. After all, it's not just bone dragons, ghost dragons, and stone oak ghosts that can fly, Lin Yu's angels can also fly. Coupled with the deterrence of the arrows of the god of love. There are hardly any flying undead creatures that can approach or have the courage to approach Lin Yu's territory. It can be said that the outcome of this war has already been determined. The undead army cannot conquer Lin Yu's territory. Lin Yu's territorial troops cannot completely eliminate the vast undead army. By the time tomorrow morning, when the sun rises, the surviving undead creatures will choose to retreat and return to their underground world. Roar. A roar of a dragon suddenly appeared on the battlefield. It was a flaming dragon over 50 meters long, burning with hot red flames all over its body. With a loud bang, the flaming dragon crashed to the ground, instantly exploding an area of 300 meters in radius. In an instant, all the undead creatures in this area were burned to ashes, even high-level undead creatures couldn't resist. This is Lin Yu's fire dragon spell. It was also an opportunity he finally found to cast it. The reason why it was said to be a rare opportunity is because there are his territorial troops all over the battlefield, and one careless move could cause friendly fire. Awesome! Lin Yu shouted from the bottom of his heart. He had a brilliant smile on his face, obviously very happy. After being in the floating island world for such a long time, this was the first time he killed a monster. And he killed hundreds of undead creatures in one shot. This feeling was extremely refreshing. It can be seen that deep down in Lin Yu's heart, there is a desire for battle, hoping to satisfy himself through this kind of satisfying kill. Now, he finally found the opportunity. At the same time, there were a large number of territorial troops cheering on the battlefield. The god of faith is with them. In an instant, their fighting spirit boiled, and their morale reached its peak. Even if there are endless enemies ahead, they cannot generate the slightest fear. Being able to fight against the enemy under the attention of the god of faith, guarding their faith and loyalty, is the most glorious thing. For this, even if they die on the battlefield, they are not afraid. Praise the great Lord of Holy Light. Obey the divine oracle of the Supreme Creator, exterminate the evil heretics on the battlefield. Kill. 32%. Chapter 184. As quickly as it came, as quickly as it left. In the upcoming battle, Lin Yu repeatedly sought opportunities to unleash the fire dragon technique. Each time, he was able to kill a large number of undead creatures. But now, things were different. He had already become a transcendent professional. High-level magic like the fire dragon technique was easily accessible to him, and the power it unleashed was extremely strong, comparable to the average transcendent magic skill. He continued until his magical energy was completely depleted. Only then did Lin Yu stop. He sensed the surging primal energy within his body and muttered to himself, indeed, the primal energy obtained from killing enemies as a unit is completely different from killing them individually. The former only yields a small amount, while the latter yields everything. It is because of this that top combat professionals are able to level up quickly, even surpassing low-level and middle-level overlord professionals. Without considering magical energy consumption. If I go all out and kill to my heart's content, even without the help of a unit, I can reach the realm of transcendent late stage tonight. As he spoke, Lin Yu shook his head. He was not prepared to continue. Firstly, he had already depleted his magical energy. Secondly, the battlefield had been pushed a kilometer away by the angel army and the unit troops of the territory. He had to leave the city walls and the territory to strike the undead army's camp with the fire dragon technique. This action seemed a bit reckless. And it didn't have much significance. After all, if he could level up while lying down, why bother exerting himself? The feeling of depleted magical energy was even more uncomfortable than physical exhaustion. Therefore, after glancing at the dark night sky, Lin Yu prepared to go back to sleep. He had already handed over control of the war to Angelia. With an elegant and beautiful chief secretary by his side, he believed that nothing unexpected would happen. But at that moment, Lin Yu suddenly heard a series of muffled sounds, rhythmic and resonant. The sounds came from the distant horizon. They were like war drums, yet also like thunder. Strong enemies are coming. This was Lin Yu's first reaction. His second reaction was to use the vantage point of the watchtower to monitor the situation. After a moment, he found the target. It was a group of undead knights wearing black armor, wielding long spears or raising large swords, exuding a strong aura of evil. They appeared about a dozen kilometers away, numbering over 300. The lowest among them were transcendent level. The most powerful undead knights even reached the saint rank. Death Knights. Lin Yu was somewhat surprised and uncertain. Death Knights were an apex level unit. There were already overlords on the island who had obtained this unit. Looking at the strange mounts under those undead knights, their appearance was extremely peculiar. They resembled horses but not horses, lions but not lions. They had the heads of giant lions, the bodies of spirited horses, the limbs of dragons, the tails of pythons, and ears similar to enlarged elf ears. A thick layer of dark red scales covered their bodies. Under their feet, they even trampled on ice blue flames. The combination of the black armor knights and the dark armor ice flame mounts looked extremely majestic and domineering. And very arrogant. Wherever these knights passed, all the undead creatures obediently made way, not daring to block their path. Those who ran slowly were directly cut down by them. Truly deserving of being the apex level unit of the undead camp. Before long, the 300 undead knights arrived at the edge of the battlefield. They did not immediately join the war. Instead, they observed the unit troops on the battlefield. Their main focus was the angels under Lin Yu's command. After a moment, it seemed they had discovered something. The not-so-large knight army silently retreated, and their retreat speed became faster and faster. As if they were frightened. What's going on? Upon seeing this scene, Lin Yu was immediately dumbfounded. Originally, he thought that this powerful undead knight squad would participate in the war and fight against his angel legion. After all, among them were several saint rank powerhouses, with the rest being transcendent. Their combat power was extremely terrifying. But to Lin Yu's surprise, as soon as these undead knights approached the battlefield, they immediately retreated on their own. They came fast and left just as quickly. At this moment, Lin Yu noticed dozens of blood-colored figures rising from the battlefield, chasing after the escaping undead knights. These blood-colored figures were his subordinates, the fallen angels. Led by 2 8-winged angels. The rest were all 6-winged fallen angels. Although the enemy team was powerful, the fallen angels showed no fear. They were even excited, like cats encountering mice. In contrast, the undead knights were like frightened mice, desperately fleeing. However, no matter how fast they couldn't outrun the fallen angels. After fleeing for over 50 kilometers, they were caught up and intercepted by a group of fallen angels. Dozens of large and perfectly proportioned fallen angels stood tall in the sky. They held blood-dripping divine swords, looking down at the undead knight squad below. The leader, 8-winged fallen angel Mercedia, said expressionlessly, "You have some nerve, daring to appear in the mortal realm." "Calm down, my lord." A saint-rank undead knight stepped forward, speaking in a mechanical and rigid voice. "We were just passing through, not intending to offend. We hope that my lord will allow us to leave. We swear to Lord Death that we will never approach this area again. Since you're here, don't leave." Mercedia showed no mercy. With a wave of her blood sword, the dozens of fallen angels behind her surrounded the undead knight squad and said, "We give you 2 choices, kneel or die. Why make things difficult for us, my lord?" 3 more saint-rank undead knights stepped forward. Their voices were also mechanical and cold, but they clearly carried a sense of helplessness and fear. In reality, they had no idea what these fallen angels were. They had never seen them before. The reason they referred to the fallen angels as "my lord" was because the fallen angels emitted an extremely pure, hellish aura, purer than the aura they themselves emitted. In their world, this represented a difference in status and position. A strict hierarchy. Even though their ranks were higher, they still had to lower their heads before the fallen angels. However, if these lords insisted on killing them, they could only choose to resist. After all, these lords were not the ones they pledged allegiance to. It seems that death is backing you up. What a pity. I had intended to bring you under my command and give you the opportunity to become my slaves. Before Mercedia finished speaking, an elegant and noble figure appeared out of thin air. It was Angelia. She swept her gaze expressionlessly over the undead knights, and said calmly, "What's there to talk about with a group of nightmare knights marked by death? Kill them. I'm also curious how these creatures from the underworld ended up in this world." "As you command." Mercedia bowed. Then, with the group of fallen angels, they all attacked the undead knights together. In an instant, a great battle erupted. Angelia also personally took action. She directly used her domain, forcibly imprisoning the 4 saint rank undead knights. In the vast world of her domain, one of the saint rank undead knights shouted, "Space, annihilation, holy, light, judgment, divine punishment." What a joke. Its voice was no longer mechanical and rigid. Instead, it was filled with endless horror and astonishment. But before it could finish speaking, its body disappeared. Then, its 3 companions also disappeared one after another. Not through teleportation or escape, but through annihilation. Soon, the 4 saint rank undead knights were reduced to clusters of ghostly green soul flames, floating within Angelia's domain. 1 against 4, instant kill. 32%. Chapter 185 The Crazy 18-Winged Grand Archangels. Another battlefield. Dozens of fallen angels faced over 300 undead knights of the same level, yet they were not at all at a disadvantage. Accompanied by the blooming of endless blood light, the undead knights fell in groups. And in the moment of death, the soul flames within them were completely devoured by the fallen angels. In less than 20 minutes, over 300 transcendent level undead knights were killed cleanly by the fallen angels. The leading 8-winged fallen angel, Mercedia, Aphne, and the 6-winged fallen angel, Gladys, directly soared in levels and entered the saint rank. The other fallen angels also stepped into the mid and late stages of transcendent. This war caused the levels of the fallen angels to skyrocket. Of course, there was also Angelia. She single-handedly killed 4 saint rank undead knights, easily stepping into the late stage of saint rank from the initial stage, and was not far from reaching the peak of saint rank. At the saint rank level, there was the concept of a peak. Before this, the king level and transcendent only had the late stage. Breaking through the late stage would allow one to step into the next realm. The reason why the concept of a peak appeared starting from the saint rank was not because the levels were subdivided, but because of a deeper understanding of the domain. Ordinary saint rank beings all mastered a domain. And when a trace of the power of laws was born within the domain, their level would reach the peak of saint rank. When this trace of power of laws became complete, one could break through the realm and become a demigod. At the demigod level, there was also a peak realm. A demigod who successfully ignited the divine fire was a peak demigod. Compared to ordinary demigods, the strength of a peak demigod was many times stronger, but still weaker than a true god who condensed a divine nature. Take it. Angelia waved her right hand. 4 clusters of azure soul flames floated towards Mercedia and the others. "Thank you, my lord." Mercedia and the others immediately expressed their gratitude. Then they devoured the 4 clusters of saint rank soul flames. Afterwards, the realm they had just broken through to, the saint rank, became more stable and their strength became stronger. At the same time, they obtained the memories of these undead knights. Angelia asked with a calm expression, "Why did these nightmare knights from the underworld appear in this world? What is their purpose?" 8-winged fallen angel Mercedia respectfully replied, "To my lord, they transmigrated from the underworld to search for a divine body of the death god, which is said to have been left behind during the Holy Demon War. There are a total of 18 teams of nightmare knights that came from the underworld. They are just one of them. Among these nightmare knight teams, 5 are led by demigod-level nightmare knights. They are scattered in various regions of this world, secretly searching for that divine body of the death god." The divine body of the death god. Angelia nodded slightly and said, "It can barely be considered a treasure. We need to obtain it, extract its divinity, and help our Lord ascend to godhood." "You are wise, my lord." 8-winged fallen angel Mercedia said, "With the assistance of divinity, it will be easy for the Creator to ascend to godhood. Furthermore, there is a clue in the memories of those nightmare knights. What clue? Leaving aside other regions, if we only consider the Dark Forest, the most likely place to become the divine land of the fallen god is the headquarters of Bone Temple in the north. 3 days ago, a team led by a demigod went there. Her voice paused slightly. Mercedia asked again, My lord, should we immediately go to Bone Temple to prevent the divine body of the death god from truly falling there and being obtained by those nightmare knights? Why the rush? Angelia said indifferently. Even if they find the divine body of the death god, it will be difficult to transport it for a while. They will need to summon other nightmare knight teams and set up a sacrificial altar. We don't need to be in a hurry. Let them find it first. Understood. Mercedia nodded. Just as she was about to speak, the elegant and noble figure in front of her disappeared into thin air. Secretary and left. Also taken away were the scattered spoils of war. After a moment of silence, Mercedia led the other fallen angels and left this place, continuing to clear out the undead creatures on the battlefield. Almost at the same time. In the northern region of the Dark Forest, a large and powerful legion of nightmare knights suddenly stopped. Sir, why have we stopped moving forward? Is there a special situation? A perplexed nightmare knight at the peak of the saint rank inquired. Ahead, a burly and terrifying nightmare knight, without even turning his head, said, Squad 13 has been wiped out. It's not just a simple casualty, their souls have been completely extinguished. The saint rank nightmare knight exclaimed in shock, who could have been so ruthless? Could it be the demigod from the giant kingdom? We don't know yet. The terrifying nightmare knight shook his head, then coldly said, Don't worry about it, continue with our mission. Finding the body of the death god, Bacchus, is the most important thing. Yes, sir. Soon, the legion of nightmare knights set off again. Under the pitch-black night, their figures were even more chilling than the undead. Even the undead would willingly make way when they saw them. Because they were messengers from the underworld. Creatures from the underworld. Lin Yu's expression revealed a hint of surprise. Isn't the underworld supposed to be the resting place of the deceased? It should be a one-way journey. Yet now, there are beings from the underworld appearing on this floating island. This exceeded his expectations. Furthermore, he remembered that his demonic plant, the everlasting flower, was the guardian of the gates to the underworld, specifically feeding on the souls that entered the underworld. It could be called a skin-peeling monster of the dead. Yes, my lord, Angelia respectfully said. They are nightmare knights, following the oracle of a death god, who have descended upon this world to find the body of another death god belonging to the underworld camp. Lin Yu said, I thought they were apex-level units, the undead knights. The beasts they ride, are they the rumored nightmare beasts? Yes, my lord, Angelia said, nightmare beasts are unique creatures of the underworld, with strong combat abilities and suitable for being mounts. Compared to undead knights, nightmare knights are at least 10 times stronger. Lin Yu asked again in confusion. They clearly approached the battlefield just now, why did they suddenly retreat? Angelia respectfully said, those nightmare knights were frightened by the hellish power emanating from the fallen angel, thinking they had encountered higher-level creatures from the underworld, so they hastily withdrew. This answer only puzzled Lin Yu even more. Could there be a connection between hell and the underworld? Why would a group of creatures from the underworld be scared by the power of hell? Lin Yu didn't know where the underworld was. But he knew that hell was behind the summoning of black holes, within the divine domain of the Creator. What can be confirmed is that hell and the underworld are not the same world. My lord, the situation is like this. Angelia explained, the hell where the fallen angel resides used to be part of the underworld. That was tens of millions of years ago, when several 18-winged grand archangels forcibly entered the underworld to seal the fallen angel, using their supreme divine power to divide the underworld into two. They used half of the fragments of the underworld to create the current hell. So in reality, the power of hell is actually the power of the underworld. The hellish aura emanating from the fallen angel is extremely pure, which frightened those nightmare knights. I see. Lin Yu suddenly realized, and was greatly shocked. Those 18-winged grand archangels of the divine angel camp were truly insane. Not only did they forcefully invade the land of the dead, they even split the legendary underworld in half, just like cutting a watermelon. One half returned to the original inhabitants of the underworld. The other half was used to create hell and seal the fallen angel. Could an ordinary person do such a thing? Definitely not. Only someone like the Wolfbane could do it. Lin Yu said, if we have the opportunity, we must seize that death god's body. The body of a deity is undoubtedly of astonishing value. It can be considered a world treasure, and he really wants to obtain it. I understand. Angelia respectfully said, My lord, rest assured, no one can take away that death god's body. As long as it is in this world, it will definitely belong to you. Upon hearing this, Lin Yu couldn't help but smile. From the moment she was summoned until now, Secretary and has never disappointed him. Especially just now, when she single-handedly fought against 4 saint-rank nightmare knights, it was a scene that left him deeply shocked. Even though they were all saint rank, Secretary and was a bit too strong. 32%. Chapter 186. What a joke. Have you evolved again? The war has been going on until now. I think there is already a group of exhausted troops, reaching their limit. Lin Yu said to Angelia standing beside him, organize and dispatch a portion of the troops back to the territory for rest and rotation. Angelia doesn't need to eat, drink, or even sleep. But after all, she is not a perpetual motion machine. Long periods of intense fighting still make them tired. In this situation, if they continue to stay on the battlefield, accidents are likely to occur, and the efficiency of killing enemies will also decrease significantly. As for the other troops in the territory, it's even worse. So, rotation is needed. First, withdraw a portion of the troops and let them return to the territory to rest and restore their magic power. After their condition recovers, they can replace the other troops on the battlefield. In this way, a high killing efficiency can be maintained. There is no other way. Who made the enemy an almost endless army of undead? They can't be killed, nor can they be driven away. This is the only way to fight. After all, the size of our territory's troops is too small. If we had a 1,000,000 angel army, why worry about not being able to kill those undead creatures to the bone? Master, don't worry, Angelia said in a gentle voice, your territory's troops are in the process of rapid expansion. I believe that soon the size of your army will reach 1,000,000. As for those undead creatures, their advantage is only temporary. When the city of angels is completed and floats above your territory, at that time, even if the size of the undead army increases tenfold, they will have only one way to go, and that is death. With the city of angels, you don't even need to send troops to kill the enemy. The war weapons carried by the city of angels can easily crush those weak undead creatures. You're right, Lin Yu nodded. He also looked forward to the early completion of the city of angels. Once he had a city of angels, those undead creatures outside the city would not be worth his attention. His goal in launching the war would directly be the giant kingdom. As long as the giant kingdom is destroyed, his territory, Paradise Town, will become the ruler of the western region of the Dark Forest. Lin Yu said to Angelia, I'm going back to the Hall of the Overlord to rest. I'll leave the war and the troops to you. Thank you for your trust, Master. Angelia nodded solemnly. After Lin Yu left, she followed Lin Yu's orders and began to rearrange the troops. At the same time, she ordered the troops to retract the battle lines. As of now, the front line has been pushed back to an area 3,500 meters away from the city walls. Retracting the battle lines can compress the battlefield synchronously to prevent the remaining troops on the battlefield from being surrounded by more enemy attacks after withdrawing a portion of the troops. Soon, under Angelia's command, the territory's troops began to slowly retreat. Some of the troops accelerated their pace and withdrew back to the territory. The remaining troops continued to fight the undead army in the reduced battlefield area. During this process, the undead army organized several fierce counterattacks, but they did not achieve good results and were instead annihilated by the troops left on the battlefield. If it were any other force, not just the Overlord, but also the local forces, they would never dare to do such a thing easily. Because withdrawing a portion of the forces can easily lead to the collapse of the battle lines. But Lin Yu's territory doesn't have to worry about such a thing happening. Because all the troops on the battlefield are his followers, and at the very least, they are fanatic believers. They will only obey the commands of the God of Faith with unwavering loyalty. They won't even consider the possibility of dying on the battlefield after friendly forces withdraw. Even more so, they erupted with even stronger morale and the spirit of fighting desperately to fill the empty battlefield left behind by the withdrawal of other army corps. They stubbornly withstood the charge of the undead army. This is the power of believers. The power of faith. Spirit field area. Both the black-bone bloodvine and the everlasting flower, 2 demonic plants, perked up their ears. Sister Vine, did you hear that? The war has not only not ended, but has become even more intense. I heard the roar and wailing of the undead, the rumbling of the demonic energy cannons, and the resounding war drums. Damn it, why haven't I matured yet? I wish I could personally go to the battlefield and serve my master. The everlasting flower was very unhappy. It is the master's demonic plant and the guardian of the territory. However, in the first large-scale war after the territory was upgraded to a town, it was absent. It really wanted to charge out of the spirit field and slaughter all enemies. But it couldn't, because all things in the world must abide by the rules of this world, including these demonic plants. And the rule they follow is that demonic plants planted in the spirit field cannot leave until they mature. My power has already reached the early saint rank. If I were wild, I could enter the battlefield now and sweep away all opposition in just a few days. You're thinking too much, the black bone bloodvine said, a wild everlasting flower growing to the saint rank in just a few days. Even if you had decades, it wouldn't be enough. Don't try to take advantage and act cute. Oh, the everlasting flower straightened its stem and sarcastically said, having evolved into a peak saint rank demonic plant, your tone has changed. It seems like you want to teach your sister a lesson, don't you? Not interested. The black bone bloodvine wriggled countless branches like tentacles. As the everlasting flower said, its mentality had indeed changed. It was no longer the obedient king-level demonic plant it used to be. Now, if the everlasting flower bullied it, it had the courage to confront it head-on. HMPH. The everlasting flower raised its head with a bit of arrogance. It felt like it had won in this round of confrontation. As for bullying the black bone bloodvine, it didn't dare anymore. Not because it was afraid of losing, but because it was afraid that the black bone bloodvine would evolve again when it got excited. The everlasting flower said with anticipation, after this war is over, I will have an endless supply of souls and accelerate my growth. Soon, sister, I will be able to leave this cursed place. The black bone bloodvine thought about how the everlasting flower's growth speed might surpass its own and be the first to form a contract with the master. It felt uncomfortable. I should be the master's first demonic plant. The little vine sister became more and more anxious as she thought about it. The more anxious she became, the angrier she became. Gradually, a blood-red light emerged from it. Seeing this scene, the unfortunate flower was dumbfounded. Then it couldn't help but exclaim in disbelief, "Are you kidding me? You evolved again. I was being careful. I didn't provoke you." Looking at the black bone bloodvine gradually enveloped in dense bloodlight, the unfortunate flower felt like it had been hit by a heavy blow and was completely confused. This shouldn't be happening. This guy definitely isn't a pure black bone bloodvine. Yes, it's a hybrid. There must be some kind of bloodline from a reverse celestial beast hidden inside it. Only this can explain why it can repeatedly achieve bloodline evolution. The everlasting flower muttered to itself like it had gone crazy. 32%. Chapter 187 Holy Nightmare Gun. During the night, Lin Yu was sleeping in a daze. Suddenly, he felt a soft body curl up in his arms. He naturally embraced it. Raising his eyes slightly, he saw a beautiful and delicate face. It was six-winged seeker angel Elena, who had already retracted her angel wings into her body. She looked just like a goddess from the human camp. Has the war ended? Lin Yu asked with some confusion. Just as he finished speaking, he heard the booming sound of cannons. Elena obediently rested her head on Lin Yu's chest and whispered, in response to the master, the undead army's attack has not slowed down. I was just replaced to restore my magic power. So she ended up on my bed. Looking at the beautiful angel in his arms, who was as obedient as a cat, Lin Yu couldn't help but smile. All right, I'll lend you a hand. In the blink of an eye, the night passed and the sun rose. A new day began. Lin Yu yawned and got out of bed. He put on his clothes with the help of ancient great elf Doris. The fierce battle last night made him feel a significant loss for the first time. Of course, the result didn't matter. The process of enjoyment was the most crucial. Before long, Elena, who had woken up earlier, prepared breakfast and brought it to the bedroom. After finishing breakfast, Lin Yu and the other two went to the first floor of the Hall of the Overlord. When the territory reached the town level, the scale of the Hall of the Overlord also expanded. The most noticeable change was the first floor hall. Its area had increased by more than 10 times. Gathering thousands of angels was no problem at all. At this moment, the hall was already piled up with a massive amount of spoils, forming several mountains. Gold coins, over 800,000. Equipment, over 4,000 pieces. Blueprints, over 1,000. There were also various other spoils, numbering in the thousands. The harvest was truly overwhelming. The phrase, overnight riches, was not enough to describe it. Indeed, war is the most profitable. Looking at the mountains of spoils in front of him, Lin Yu's fatigue vanished instantly. The blacksmiths in the blacksmith workshop had worked hard all day. They only obtained 1,000 pieces of equipment. And they were all low-level equipment. But last night's battle brought him over 4,000 pieces of equipment, including various levels. Among them were high-level and even king-level and transcendent equipment. Just these equipment alone can bring me over 1,000,000 gold coins. And there are blueprints. Without hesitation, Lin Yu immediately listed these equipment and blueprints on the island trading platform according to their level and price. All over 4,000 pieces of equipment were neatly organized. This was thanks to Secretary Anne's efforts. While he was still asleep, Angelia had already sorted and counted the equipment, blueprints, and other spoils. He only needed to list them on the trading platform. There are still 349 pieces of king-level equipment left. 65 pieces of transcendent equipment. And 1 piece of saint rank equipment. Lin Yu didn't sell these 3 grades of equipment. Because no one could afford them. At this stage, high-level equipment was already the limit that those professionals could bear. A group of low-level professionals couldn't afford higher quality equipment. Lin Yu planned to use these equipment to arm the tribal elves under Doris. Angels were unique. They came fully armed when summoned. Even their angel sets had the ability to grow and evolve. Whether they were holy angels or fallen angels, Lin Yu didn't need to equip them. But other types of troops are different. Take the tribal elves, for example. Many of them have already reached the king level and transcendent levels. However, they are still wearing their previous equipment. This prevents them from fully unleashing their level of strength. Fortunately, the current equipment is very suitable for them and can greatly enhance their combat power. Doris, these equipment are entrusted to you. Distribute them to the tribal elves who need them. Praise you, the great Lord of Holy Light. Doris was immediately excited. Hundreds of king-level and transcendent equipment, this is an astonishing wealth. Previously, their tribe couldn't even gather 10 pieces of king-level equipment, let alone transcendent equipment. She had never even seen them before. Doris exclaimed excitedly, with these equipment, Carol and the others' strength will definitely skyrocket. Lin Yu nodded and gave her a spatial equipment, saying, "This is for you, to store the daily harvest from hunting." Among the more than 4,000 pieces of equipment obtained this time, there were a total of 17 spatial equipment. 1 was given to Doris. The remaining spatial equipment was handed over to Six-Winged Seeker Angel Elena, who was beside them, to distribute to the Dominion Angels in the Angel Legion. The Dominion Angels possessed the teleportation divine art. They could open the gate of holy light and instantly teleport to the positions of other angel legions. They would collect the spoils of war from each angel legion, relieving the burden on the secretary. Finally, there was that piece of saint rank equipment. Lin Yu checked its equipment information. Saint Nightmare Spear. Type: attack equipment. Attack level: saint rank late stage. Durability: 100. Special effect 1. Intimidation: can intimidate undead creatures below saint rank, greatly weakening their combat power. Special effect 2. Summoning: after using this active skill, can summon a nightmare beast of the same level as the owner, up to saint rank peak. Special effect 3. Fatality: active skill, with 1 strike, ordinary saint rank creatures will die. Special effect 4. Soul curse: active skill, using death as a catalyst to curse enemies. Introduction: this is a gun that accompanies a saint rank nightmare knight, crafted from rare metals from the underworld, with terrifying power. This knight's gun bears witness to the legendary life of the saint rank nightmare knight and also witnesses its death. What a great gun! Lin Yu exclaimed. Before this, he had never obtained a saint rank equipment. This was the first time. And the attributes of this saint rank equipment also surprised and shocked him. Truly worthy of being a saint rank level equipment, it's very powerful. It's hard to imagine how amazing the attributes of a demigod artifact or a legendary divine weapon would be. Looking at the Saint Nightmare gun in his hand, Lin Yu couldn't wait to exchange it for the Origin Scepter, worth 40,000. Take a look at this equipment. If you can use it, it's yours. Lin Yu handed the Nightmare gun to ancient great elf Doris. In reality, the fallen angel would be more suitable for this equipment, because they are all part of the Hell faction. But the problem is, every fallen angel is fully armed. They don't lack equipment, and they also look down on it. As for Doris, after last night's war, she has been promoted from Transcendent late stage to the early stage of Saint rank, and she happens to lack Saint rank level equipment. Doris looked at the nightmare gun in her hand, and an extremely excited expression appeared on her delicate and charming face. This was also her first encounter with Saint rank equipment. Before, she had only heard about it. But soon, a look of discomfort appeared on her face. It's like being surrounded by delicious food but not being able to eat it. Helplessness filled her eyes. Then, she reluctantly returned the nightmare gun to Lin Yu and said, "My lord, this is an extremely powerful saint weapon, but I can't use it." If she were a swordsman, she would immediately thank the Lord of Holy Light for the reward. But the problem is, she is an elven assassin, skilled in stealth and assassination. The more delicate the weapon, the easier it is to succeed in assassination. Going to assassinate someone with a knight's long spear, before she even gets close, she would be discovered by the enemy. Moreover, which assassin would stab someone with a long spear? 32%. Chapter 188 An army of 100,000 angels. 3 million gold coins. Alright. Lin Yu took back the holy nightmare spear. He equipped it and then waved his right hand lightly. Suddenly, the air in front of him was forcefully cut open, emitting a piercing screech. A burst of black spear light shot out. It forcefully sliced through the pillar in the hall of the Overlord. The 2-meter-thick pillar was directly cut open. It's worth noting that this was just a casual wave without using any magic power. It can be seen how powerful this nightmare spear is. After glancing at the quickly restored pillar, Lin Yu used the summoning skill of the Holy Nightmare Spear again. In an instant, a void cave appeared in front of Lin Yu. After a moment, a nightmare beast covered in black scales and several meters tall appeared in the hall. This was a transcendent late-stage nightmare beast. On par with Lin Yu. Yes, overnight, Lin Yu's level broke through again, reaching the transcendent late stage, and his experience bar was already filled. As long as the Angel Legion kills 5 more Saint rank enemies, his level can directly reach the Saint rank level and simultaneously master the power of the domain. Without hesitation, Lin Yu flipped onto the back of the Nightmare Beast. With a thought, the Nightmare Beast rushed out of the Hall of the Overlord and soared into the sky on ice blue flames. Its speed was comparable to an Airbus. After circling in the sky above his territory for a few rounds, Lin Yu reluctantly returned to the Hall of the Overlord. He then put away the Nightmare Beast. What a pity. Lin Yu felt a bit regretful. The function and value of this Nightmare Spear are both very high. But unfortunately, no one in his territory can use it. In the end, he can only keep it for himself, storing it in the territory's warehouse for now. Next, Lin Yu dealt with a batch of blueprints. There were about 700 of them. Most of them were blueprints for wooden houses and arrow towers. A small portion were blueprints for unit quantity and unit evolution. After using them, Lin Yu's territory gained over 4,000 high-level wooden houses, over 500 middle-level turrets, and a total of approximately 20,000 elite units. The remaining unit evolution blueprints were, as usual, given to ancient great elf Doris. A dozen or so special, exclusive unit evolution blueprints were given to Six-Wing Seeker Angel Elena. With this, last night's spoils were considered dealt with. Only the gold coins remained unused. As of now, Lin Yu's reserve of gold coins has exceeded 1.5 million. And the value is still increasing. This is because the over 4,000 pieces of equipment he just put up for sale are being bought by professionals one after another. If nothing unexpected happens, when all these equipment are sold, the amount of gold coins in my hands can reach 3 million. 3 million gold coins. This is a terrifying number. If it spreads, it will definitely cause a sensation throughout the floating island. Lin Yu himself was also extremely excited. Because later, he can summon tens of thousands of angels at once, doubling the size of the existing Angel Legion. With this rate of growth, at most tomorrow, the total size of my angel army can reach over 100,000. Lin Yu suddenly took a deep breath. 100,000 angel army, what kind of concept is that? Just thinking about the scene of covering the sky and blocking out the sun is enough to make his heart surge. 100,000 angels. Not even a throne angel city can hold them all. So, I must build more city of angels. Originally, Lin Yu thought that the throne of angels created by Coral would be enough to accommodate all the angels in his territory. After all, he now has a total of 76 small-scale angel legions under his command, with a total of over 38,000 angels. And the carrying capacity of a small-scale city of angels is 50,000 angels. It is a large-scale angel legion. The city of angels built by Coral is more than enough to serve the territory. But unexpectedly, it didn't last long. After this wave of summoning, the number of angels under his command will definitely exceed 80,000. After all, that's 3 million gold coins. 80,000 angels already exceed the carrying capacity of the small-scale city of angels. Although they can squeeze and share a throne angel city, if they want to have a stronger war power, they still need to build more city of angels. Just as Lin Yu was planning for the future, the chat channel on the island was already boiling. Because they were shocked by the terrifying achievements of Paradise Town. So powerful, unbelievable, Lin Yu's Paradise Town not only successfully resisted the attack of the undead army last night, but also dropped thousands of equipment. It's terrifying. More than 4,000 pieces of equipment. How many undead creatures do you have to kill to drop that? At least tens of millions. Scary. I originally thought that Lin Yu's Paradise Town would suffer heavy losses last night. Now it seems that I was thinking too much. Lin Yu has once again become rich overnight. Selling a few million gold coins for thousands of pieces of equipment is not a problem at all. After all, there are many high-level equipment in it. This time, Lin Yu can expand the Angel Legion on a large scale again. It's really envy-inducing. While I was excited about getting thousands of gold coins, Lin Yu already has millions in his hands. With this money, Lin Yu can directly summon tens of thousands of angels. Envy. At this moment, millions of professionals on the island were all green with envy. Especially those overlord professionals, they were really envious to the point of heartache. At this stage, the vast majority of overlord professionals are still at the stage of earning a few hundred to 1,000 gold coins per day. The income of an apex level overlord may reach several thousand gold coins. But compared to Lin Yu, they are still far behind. In just one night of effort, Lin Yu earned 2 to 3 million gold coins, which is tens of times more than them. With such a gap, how could they possibly catch up with Lin Yu? Lin Yu's terrifying development speed made even apex-level overlords feel a sense of despair. However, this does not include those overlords from the Radiant Alliance. At this moment, the Radiant Alliance channel was filled with cheers. Our leader is really amazing. I was worried about Paradise Town suffering heavy losses from the attack of the undead army before. Now it seems that I was just overthinking. Lin Yu's strength far exceeds our imagination. I can't wait to see our leader establish a kingdom. Me too. It can be seen that the number of members in the Radiant Alliance channel has increased to nearly 50. If it weren't for the membership restriction, only overlord professionals from the Radiant faction can join the alliance. The number of members in the alliance channel would be even greater. Just by displaying Lin Yu's banner, countless professionals would flock to it. Half an hour later, more than 4,000 pieces of equipment, except for some supreme-grade equipment that is still being auctioned, all the other equipment was sold out. As Lin Yu expected, his gold reserves reached 3 million. To be precise, it was 3,297,000 gold coins. Although he was mentally prepared, Lin Yu still took a deep breath. Shocked and excited, summoning a medium-sized angel legion led by an 8-winged angel requires a consumption of 285,000 gold coins. I now have nearly 3.3 million gold coins. I can directly summon 11 fully equipped medium-sized angel legions, totaling 56,220 angels. This is the first time Lin Yu has summoned so many angels. The scale is so huge. It's even hard for him to believe. Without hesitation, Lin Yu immediately communicated with Myriad World's floating island and opened the summoning black hole. Soon, countless angels flew out of the black hole. After this wave of summoning, the number of angels under my command will reach more than 90,000, and the 100,000 angel army is within reach. 32%. Chapter 189 I will be with you. It seems that the increase in territory level has greatly accelerated the speed of summoning. In just a moment, more than 50,000 angels flew out of the black hole. The ratio is still approximately 2 to 1. The holy angels occupy 2/3, while the fallen angels occupy 1/3. A total of 11 medium-sized angel legions, 7 of which are holy angel legions and 4 are fallen angel legions. All of these angel legions are led by 8-winged angels. A total of 11 8-winged angels. Each one has reached the transcendent level. As for their growth potential, it is at the peak of the middle-ranked gods. In other words, as long as they kill enough enemies, they can easily become peak middle-ranked gods and possess medium-level divine power. Except for the 11 8-winged angels. Among these 11 medium-sized angel legions, there are also 110 6-winged angels. Some are at the 9th level. Some are at the king level. Their growth potential is at the level of lower-ranked gods. In short, once they reach the peak, they will all become eternal true gods. This is very terrifying. Other overlords, where would they have such terrifying troops? Even apex-level overlords, the growth potential of their troops is only at the saint rank. Only in extremely lucky situations is it possible to recruit rare troops with demigod potential. Like the Dark Elves in Lin Yu's territory. They are generally at the saint rank. Up to now, the Dark Elf Mother Tree has given birth to thousands of Dark Elves, but they are all at the saint rank and no special demigod troops have appeared. This is also the current situation of other apex-level overlords. Compared to that, Lin Yu's angels are simply abnormal troops. In fact, if Lin Yu only summoned 2 winged angels with demigod-level growth potential, his territory development speed would not be able to reach this level. But the problem lies in the fact that he is not summoning a single 2-winged angel. He is summoning the entire angel race. As long as he upgrades his territory, he can unlock the ability to summon high-ranking angels. High-ranking angels are the fundamental reason why he can crush other overlords. Until now, Lin Yu still cannot determine why he can summon the entire angel race. Could it be that he is truly the reincarnation of the Supreme Creator? So it leads to him being able to summon various high-ranking angels, and both the holy angels and the fallen angels are extremely loyal to him and believe in him. Just as Lin Yu was lost in thought, a group of powerful high-ranking angels had already gathered in front of him. Leading them were 11 8-winged angels, 7 holy angels, 4 fallen angels. Behind them, there were over 106 winged angels. Outside the Hall of the Overlord, there were also 11 medium-sized angel legions, with a total number of over 56,004 winged angels and 2 winged angels. Whether they are holy angels or fallen angels, they all have one thing in common. That is, in front of Lin Yu, they have put away their indifference and arrogance. On each beautiful and stunning face, there is a full sense of reverence and fanaticism towards Lin Yu. Praise you, great Lord of Holy Light Creator. The group of high-ranking angels all bowed respectfully to Lin Yu. Then, outside the Hall of the Overlord, the tens of thousands of 4-winged angels and 2-winged angels shouted in unison, and the terrifying sound almost tore apart the clouds thousands of meters high. Just with this unparalleled momentum, it is enough to deter countless intelligent races. Very good. Lin Yu nodded slightly and said to the group of high-ranking archangels in front of him, "May the light illuminate the universe, and the holy light purify evil. On this long path of faith spreading, I will always be with you." Hearing this, the more than 100 high-ranking archangels in the hall immediately became extremely excited. There is nothing more important than this. Angels, fearless in war, unafraid of death. War is the way faith spreads. And death, for angels, is just a new beginning. The indomitable angelic hearts within them carry their souls. Even if they sacrifice on the battlefield, the angelic hearts will assist them in resurrection. If they are not afraid of death, what else could they fear? What they truly fear is losing the favor of the Lord of Holy Light, the Creator. For a race of faith, this can be considered the darkest apocalypse. Therefore, when they heard that the Lord of Holy Light, the Creator, would be with them forever, they naturally became extremely excited and thrilled. All the angels present are willing to dedicate everything to the great Lord. Lin Yu counted the newly summoned more than 100 high-ranking archangels. He discovered that among them, there were 3 angel of retribution, 4 angel of love, and 2 artisan angel. Although they are all 6-winged angels, being able to summon so many special angels at once was enough to make Lin Yu ecstatic. These 3 types of special angels are all very important. Angel of retribution, impartial and powerful in battle. Angel of love, skilled in redemption and resurrection, as well as spreading love. Artisan angel, the core talent for building the city of angels. In this case, I now have 4 artisan angels under my command. This can greatly accelerate the construction speed of the city of angels. If all goes well, my first throne angel city can be completed by tomorrow morning at the latest, or even sooner. Without hesitation, Lin Yu immediately ordered the 2 newly summoned artisan angels to help Coral and Marianne speed up the construction of the City of Angels. He couldn't wait to see the scene of the City of Angels soaring into the clouds. Then, Lin Yu turned his gaze to the 11 8-winged angels in front of him. Among the 7 divine angels, 2 were dominion angels, 1 was a seeker angel, and 4 were angel of strength. The remaining 4 8-winged fallen angels were not assigned to any faction. Lin Yu said to them, "Your mission is to eliminate the wild monsters around the territory and eradicate possible beast tides and local forces. The protection of the world's rules has disappeared. I entrust the security of the territory to you. I don't want to see any enemies crossing your defense line and appearing at the gates of my territory. Yes, Supreme Lord. The group of high-ranking archangels saluted with solemn expressions. The 4 8-winged fallen angels exuded a chilling aura. The 7 8-winged divine angels said in unison, "Rest assured, our Lord. Not even a flying bird can approach your territory. If there is, it must have had its soul purified. The Lord's domain is sacred and inviolable." Very good. A smile appeared on Lin Yu's face. He loved hearing this kind of talk, confident and arrogant. After the group of high-ranking archangels left, Lin Yu glanced at the remaining number of gold coins, which was still over 160,000. Thinking about the 76 small angel legions he had before, Lin Yu summoned 4 more small legions, plus 1 8-winged angel. With this, he now had 19 fully equipped medium-sized angel legions under his command. Among them, there were 13 divine angel legions and 6 fallen angel legions. The total number of angels was over 97,000. After this series of summonings, angels officially became the largest force under Lin Yu's command. 33%. Chapter 190 Secretary and is the most reliable. At this moment, an elegant and beautiful figure walked into the hall of the Overlord. It was Angelia. After one night, the holy radiance emanating from Secretary and seemed even more intense, as if she was enveloped in a layer of divine light. Beautiful, sacred, and untouchable. Lin Yu reflexively looked behind Secretary N. 3 pairs of snow-white angel wings. And a pair of huge and dazzling flowing light wings, without a second pair of flowing light wings. This indicated that she was still an 8-winged angel. "Oh, great lord." Angelia approached, bowing her head respectfully and said, "Dozens of kilometers away, an endless number of wild monsters are gathering and rushing towards your territory like a tide. The beast tide is coming." This was Lin Yu's first reaction. Although the rules of the floating island world were rigid, they were never deceptive. If there was a beast tide, then there definitely would be one. If nothing unexpected happened, the armies of the local forces would soon launch an attack. It was even possible that the armies of those local intelligent races were following behind the beast tide, preparing to join forces with the beast tide to conquer his territory in one fell swoop. This is a full-scale war. No moment of rest. Lin Yu looked at the beautiful and elegant secretary and asked, "What about the various legions of the territory?" Angelia respectfully replied, "They are clearing out the wild monsters while gradually retreating to the territory." Okay. Lin Yu nodded. The scale of the beast tide might not necessarily be smaller than that of the undead army. If they were to fight the beast tide in the wild world and were surrounded, it would be very dangerous. The angels didn't mind. They had powerful combat strength and could fly. Even if they were really in danger, the Dominion angels could open the gates of holy light and directly teleport the various angel legions back to the territory. But it was different for the other types of legions. Especially the relatively weaker Goblin Legion, Grey Dwarf Legion, and so on. If they were surrounded by the beast tide, there would definitely be only one result: total annihilation, including the Forest Troll Legion and even the Dark Elf Legion. Therefore, the safest way to wage war was to retreat to the territory. Utilize the territory's walls, magic cannons, and other defensive facilities to resist the beast tide. Lin Yu asked, "Is there any trace of saint-rank magical beasts?" Angelia shook her head and said, "For now, I've only seen a considerable number of transcendent magical beasts. Saint-rank magical beasts have not appeared yet." Lin Yu said, "Once the figure of a saint-rank magical beast is discovered, it must be killed immediately. We cannot let saint-rank magical beasts appear on the battlefield of the legions. As for the transcendent magical beasts, there's no need to worry. Leave them to the legions. Saint-rank magical beasts also possess the power of domains. If this power appeared on the battlefield, it would cause significant casualties to the legions of the territory. So it must be dealt with immediately. Compared to that, transcendent-level magical beasts were there to provide experience for the legions of the territory. Especially those high-ranking angels, they loved killing transcendent magical beasts because it allowed them to obtain a huge amount of primal energy, thus enabling them to advance to higher levels faster. "Yes, my lord," Angelia expressed her understanding. As the strongest angel under the Lord of Holy Light, her task was to deal with the most threatening enemies. Lin Yu continued, "After this wave of war ends, the number of wild monsters and local intelligent races in the surrounding areas will greatly decrease. At that time, we need to expand our hunting grounds. Most importantly, we need to prepare for war with the giant kingdom." Speaking of this, Lin Yu's thoughts drifted to the giant kingdom. I wonder if those 3 mountain giants have returned to the giant kingdom. The faith line shows that they split up. 2 of the mountain giants are traveling together. The other mountain giant went to another place and doesn't seem to have returned to the giant kingdom. With the help of faith, Lin Yu knew that all 3 disciples of the mountain giant were still alive. As for what they were doing or what situation they encountered, Lin Yu didn't know. This was mainly because his current strength was still very low. There was no way to descend with his thoughts onto the disciples. When he became a god and possessed divinity, he would be able to wield such power. Moreover, this power would increase as his divine power grew stronger. For ordinary believers, divine thoughts could envelop all the believers in a world. For powerful divine beings, divine thoughts could penetrate space and descend onto the believers of other worlds. My lord, you don't need to worry. They will definitely execute your divine oracle faithfully. Angelia's voice was gentle as she said, if any accidents occur that lead to the failure of the mission, I will find a way to obtain enough magic cores to help your angel army conquer the giant kingdom in one fell swoop. Hearing this, a brilliant smile appeared on Lin Yu's increasingly handsome face. Indeed, Secretary and was the most reliable. He naturally reached out and held Angelia's soft and delicate hand, smiling as he said, Angelia, no matter when, you always make me feel relaxed all over. I look forward to the day when you can become an 18-winged Grand Archangel. Always accompanying me. Angelia's eyes sparkled, and she quickly said respectfully, being able to accompany and serve the Lord is my honor. I will work hard to improve myself and strive to be promoted to 18-winged as soon as possible. Good. Lin Yu nodded with a smile. Behind him, Elena, the gentle and obedient 6-winged seeker angel, glanced at Secretary N, who was emitting a dazzling holy radiance, and silently lowered her head. In less than an hour, all the legions of the territory had returned. The total size reached nearly 180,000. Among them, half were angel legions composed of holy angels and fallen angels. As of now, the number of Lin Yu's subjects had exceeded 200,000. To be precise, it was 230,000. 180,000 were military units. 50,000 were ordinary subjects. With so many people, the amount of food consumed every day was a staggering number. Especially those large-sized forest trolls, each one was a big eater, capable of devouring 5 sheep in one meal. Fortunately, food was the least lacking resource in Lin Yu's territory. Especially meat, they could eat as much as they wanted. As orders were conveyed one after another, the 180,000-strong military legions quickly ascended the city walls. Looking around, there were angelic figures on all sides of the city walls, like beautiful female war gods, guarding the territory behind them. At the same time, dozens of kilometers away, countless monsters roared through the jungle, their rumbling sounds like war drums. Countless ancient trees were broken by them. The earth seemed to be rolling like encountering a dragon, constantly shaking and trembling. In the sky, there were also countless figures. They were flying wild monsters from different races. If one stood in the clouds, they could clearly see that whether it was flying wild monsters or ground wild monsters, their numbers were unbelievably large. They stretched for hundreds of kilometers, forming a huge circle, converging from all directions, aiming directly at the center of Paradise Town. 33%. Chapter 191. Looking forward to the destruction of Paradise Town. 100 kilometers away from Paradise Town, a group of combat professionals holding various weapons stood at the top of a mountain. Looking at the wild monster army surging like a tide at the foot of the mountain, everyone's faces turned pale and their expressions filled with fear. This scene is too terrifying. It's like a swarm of insects passing through in a movie. The wild monsters are everywhere, and many of them are high level. What's the big deal about high-level wild monsters? I even saw several transcendent-level beasts without wings, flying in the air above the jungle. This is a beast tide. All the wild monsters in the nearby mountains and forests have mobilized. It's obvious that their target is Paradise Town. A combat professional at the 4th level of the late stage said, Paradise Town has just experienced a night attack by the undead army, and now it is immediately facing the siege of the beast tide. It is even possible that the local forces will also take action. This is too terrifying. Not possible. They have already taken action. Look over there. The group of combat professionals looked up and saw a large number of fully armed elite goblins appearing in an open area at the foot of the opposite mountain. On the other side, a group of sizable gray dwarves emerged from underground. In the distance, there were swaying trees. Upon closer inspection, there were densely packed giant figures in the jungle. In addition, large numbers of indigenous intelligent races appeared in other areas, and each appearance was a fully equipped elite army. These indigenous intelligent races had left their strongholds. They converged from all directions. Some followed the beast tide. Some followed closely behind the beast tide. It seemed that they were in a relatively peaceful state with the wild monsters because they had a common enemy. Instead of fighting each other, they were cooperating. There's a beast tide in front and a local army behind. Can Paradise Town really hold on? In such a large-scale war, even 10 Apex-level overlords combined would probably not be able to defend it. It's best if they can't hold on. A combat professional sneered. Lin Yu is too arrogant, completely disregarding as combat professionals. Not only does he wantonly slaughter combat professionals, but he also claims that only the surviving elites are qualified to join his kingdom. He's just a lucky kid who got a class angel. What qualifications does he have to decide our life and death? Most importantly, joining his kingdom requires paying 70% of our daily income. It's too much. In the team, many combat professionals nodded in agreement. Whether it was Lin Yu's actions or their jealousy towards Lin Yu, they were all very unhappy and looked forward to seeing Paradise Town destroyed. However, there were also some combat professionals who remained silent, because they felt that what Lin Yu said was not wrong. In the transcendent world, the strong survive and the weak die. Those powerful professionals were also struggling for their own fate and had no obligation to protect the weak. Moreover, even if they were extremely protective, what could they do? They could protect for a while, but not for a lifetime. When they entered the myriad worlds battlefield in the future, they would still have to die. As for the issue of 70% tax, they did not express any opinions. How could they expect protection from others without getting hurt? Free lunches don't fall from the sky. Speaking of which, should we continue hunting? What's the point? A combat professional rolled his eyes and said, all the wild monsters have gathered and run to Paradise Town. Do you want to hunt the beast tide? I didn't mean that. The professional who spoke earlier immediately shook his head. If they dared to approach the beast tide, they would be torn to pieces by the wild monsters like a vast ocean. So what should we do now? I want to follow the beast tide to Paradise Town and see how they level Lin Yu's territory. Unfortunately, my strength is too weak, so I can only think about it. Let's go. Leave this area. The leader, a 4th-level late-stage combat professional, said, this war has nothing to do with us, whether the beast tide wins or Paradise Town wins. We should go to other areas to hunt. And the farther away from here, the better. This proposal received unanimous agreement from the combat professionals. If each of them were transcendent powerhouses, they would choose to participate in this war and profit from it. But reality is cruel. There are dozens of them present, with the highest level being only late stage level 4. Most of them are between level 3 and level 4. How could they qualify to participate in such a large-scale battle? Even a wave could kill them on the spot. So they believe that the most correct approach is to stay away from this place of turmoil, so as not to be affected. Remember the direction the beast tide is heading. There, Paradise Town must be located. If Paradise Town is destroyed in this war, then we can come back and take advantage of it. That makes sense. The captain is wise. Many combat professionals' eyes lit up. Everyone knows that Lin Yu has made a fortune during this time and has captured many local strongholds. His Paradise Town must be very wealthy. If they can get a share of it, they will become rich overnight. They can buy as many high-level supreme-grade equipment as they want on the island trading platform. After the captain said that, I'm even more looking forward to Paradise Town being captured. Me too. Soon, this team of combat professionals left the mountaintop and headed in the opposite direction of the beast tide. However, not long after, they unfortunately encountered a local goblin army that was gathering to go to Paradise Town. They were hit by a wave of arrows, and half of the professionals died on the spot. The remaining half of the professionals were scared out of their wits. Like headless flies, they fled in panic. After traveling a few kilometers, they collided with another elite army of a local force and were directly wiped out by a wave. They were puzzled as to why their luck could be so bad. They repeatedly collided with local armies. How could they know? The area they were in was within the gathering area of the local forces, centered around Paradise Town. Within a radius of 150 kilometers, all the local strongholds would gather to attack Lin Yu's Paradise Town. At this time, whether it was a small force or a large force, they were all marching through the jungle. For combat professionals, their safest approach was not to flee this area, but to immediately find a shelter and hide, so as not to be discovered by the armies of the local forces. But what was the result? They were actually fleeing in broad daylight. Isn't that seeking death, even in the dense jungle? Their figures were easily discovered by the scouts of the local armies. In any case, the annihilation of this team was a fact. As for the words they said earlier, looking forward to seeing Paradise Town razed to the ground, they became their last words. In addition, a similar scene also occurred in other areas. According to incomplete statistics, there were about a dozen teams of combat professionals in this area, either wiped out by the local armies or torn to pieces by the beast tide. The attack of the beast tide and the local forces should have harmed Lin Yu's Paradise Town. As a result, the war had not even begun. Those combat professional teams lurking in this area became appetizers, being eaten by the local forces and wild monsters ahead of time. At the same time, the news of the beast tide and the local forces attacking Paradise Town also spread through the island's chat channels. The discussions caused quite a stir, to say the least. On the side of Paradise Town, an army of 180,000 troops had fully prepared for war. Soon, 2 hours passed. The beast tide finally appeared. Countless wild monsters densely surrounded Paradise Town from the sky and the ground. Almost at the same time, over 1,000 magic cannons mounted on the city walls fired in unison. The sound of cannons thundered, shattering the clouds in the sky. And it marked the beginning of the war. 33%. Chapter 192. The beast tide is coming and the cannons are roaring. Boom, 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 boom. The sound of cannons reverberated, shaking the earth. One by one, energy shells with a diameter of 1 meter flew towards the distance of 10,000 meters, trailing long aurora tails. In an instant, the jungle 10,000 meters away trembled. Quickly, dense black clouds rose, although not large in scale. The scene was just like a cluster bomb exploding. It was extremely shocking. However, compared to cluster bombs, the power of magic energy cannons was stronger, and their range of destruction was larger. A single magic energy shell was enough to destroy everything within hundreds of meters. And when thousands of magic energy shells exploded at the same time, it was truly earth-shattering. At this moment, Lin Yu, standing on the city wall, witnessed with his own eyes a mountain over 10,000 meters away being directly bombarded and collapsed by his magic energy cannons. The reason for the concentrated bombardment was that a large number of wild monsters had gathered around that mountain. The middle-level turrets installed on the city wall automatically locked onto the area where the wild monsters were and carried out indiscriminate and intense bombardment. The collapsed mountain was just an unlucky victim. It was implicated. Up to now, the number of middle-level turrets on the city wall had reached over 1,500. Just in this round of bombardment, over 100,000 wild monsters were killed. Among them, several transcendent-level magical beasts also died. Unfortunately, there was no experience gained. This made Lin Yu feel a bit regretful. Of course, great achievements come at a cost. The vast army of wild monsters covering the mountains and plains was enough for the territorial army to slaughter to their heart's content. As for Lin Yu himself, he had already reached the transcendent late stage. His level was locked. No matter how many wild monsters he killed, he couldn't gain experience rewards. Only when the number of Saint rank enemies killed by the territorial army reached 10, could his level break through to the Saint rank level and become the controller of a territory. After a moment, a large number of wild monsters broke through the firepower area covered by the magic energy cannons. They charged straight towards Paradise Town. My lord, a beautiful figure wearing an exquisite crown and holding a scepter appeared beside Lin Yu, respectfully saluting and saying, "The beast tide is approaching and will soon enter our territory within a range of 3,000 meters. I request immediate dispatch of the army to intercept them." Understood. Lin Yu nodded slightly. He said to the beautiful figure in front of him, "You are the Dominion Angel, in charge of territorial warfare." This figure was the 8-winged Dominion Angel, Catherine, summoned by Lin Yu yesterday. "Praise you, Lord of Holy Light. Thank you for your trust." The 8-winged Dominion Angel, Catherine, immediately bowed and stepped back. Then, a series of war orders were issued. In an instant, the angel legions and territorial army stationed on the city wall flew out of the wall and rushed towards the vast army of wild monsters that were surging towards them. Just at this moment, in the sky thousands of meters high, a dense swarm of flying wild monsters descended from above. They were the fastest, flying at the forefront of the army of wild monsters. Now that they saw Lin Yu's territorial army rushing out of Paradise Town, they almost didn't hesitate and swooped down in unison, intending to teach Lin Yu a lesson with their air-to-ground advantage. Squeak, 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 squeak. Suddenly, a dense pink arrow rain flew straight towards those flying wild monsters. Each small arrow was adorned with 2 red hearts. They looked very cute. These were the love arrows of the Angel of Love, specifically used to spread love in the world. Irrelevant to grievances, irrelevant to gender, irrelevant to race. As long as one is struck by the arrow of love, they will immediately fall deeply in love with each other, and this other can be multiple people. Looking around, I see the figures of the angels of love appearing on all 4 walls of the territory. One angel of love stands on each of the 3 walls. On the wall where Lin Yu is, there are 2 angels of love. All 5 angels of love are petite and delicate. Their height is at most 1.5 meters. Compared to the holy angels who generally have a height of over 1.7 meters, these angels of love can be said to have a lowly figure. Paired with their exquisite and beautiful cheeks, watery golden eyes, and fluffy white angel wings behind them, they are even more cute and alluring. These 5 angels of love. One is Shirley, whom Lin Yu summoned yesterday, and she is an 8-winged angel. The other 4 were just summoned, and they are all 6-winged angels of love. Although their positions are different, they are all skilled in the same divine arts. Especially the arrow of love, their effects are extraordinary. After a wave of arrow rain, a bizarre scene immediately appeared in the sky. The previously fierce flying wild monsters were now embracing each other. They emitted bird calls that humans couldn't understand. Passionate and surging, they were confiding in each other and expressing their love. Under this scene, they forgot about the war. Indeed, love can bring about peace. What are you doing? Hurry up and charge down, kill all the troops of the otherworldly overlord. If we win this war, we can receive rewards from the highest rules. In the sky, transcendent monsters were speaking and roaring in anger. However, their roars had no effect on the wild monsters that had already been blinded by love. No matter how they scolded, those wild monsters remained suspended in midair, deeply in love. Damn it, they are being controlled by magical spells. Don't mind them. Listen to my command, attack. The transcendent monsters, having had their fill of dog food, became even angrier. They roared and led other flying wild monsters that were not struck by the arrow of love, continuing to dive towards the ground troops of the territory. Chirp, 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 chirp. The pink arrows of love kept shooting out. After each round of arrow rain, a large number of flying wild monsters were hit. Seeing this, the other wild monsters felt goosebumps all over their bodies, and their hair stood on end. However, they did not retreat. Under the command of the transcendent monsters, they charged straight into the battlefield. Many weak ground troops were immediately grabbed by them and torn into pieces in midair, turning into a rain of blood. There were also flying wild monsters with no fear, provoking the angels on the battlefield. But before they could get close, they were cut in half by the angelic swords. Inferior beings. Besides sacrificing their lives, they have no value. Redeem them with holy light. Swish, 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 swish. The sudden attack of these wild monsters was like poking a hornet's nest. In an instant, countless angels soared into the sky. Tens of thousands of them. In an instant, holy light bloomed and divine arts danced. The radiant holy brilliance illuminated the 4 corners of the world. That sacred radiance could be seen from over 100 kilometers away. After a moment, the bodies of the flying wild monsters fell from the sky like raindrops. In the blink of an eye, hundreds of thousands were slain. 33%. Chapter 193 The arrival of 3 saint-rank monsters. North of the territory. This is the area where the Fallen Angel Legion is stationed. On this battlefield, apart from the fallen angels, there is no sign of any other type of soldier, not even a single holy angel. No soldier is willing to approach the fallen angels. And the fallen angels from hell do not need the help of other soldiers. It can be seen. This battlefield is home to a total of 6 medium-sized fallen angel legions. Each legion has over 5,000 fallen angels. In total, there are over 30,000. They are divided into 600 fallen angel combat teams, with a 4-wing fallen angel leading each team. Under the command of the 6-winged fallen angel legion commanders, they are mercilessly slaughtering the wild monsters in the sky and on the ground. 600 fallen angel combat teams. That's 600 infernal soldiers. Although they have not yet grown to their peak, which is the demigod level, and have not activated the energy angel heart within their bodies, they still possess terrifying combat power. Like 600 killing machines, they are reaping the lives of the wild monsters in groups. What's most terrifying is, all the wild monsters that die at the hands of the fallen angels turn into lifeless corpses. Their spiritual power and blood power are completely devoured. Their methods are as cruel as the legendary void demons. Even the low-intelligence wild monsters are frightened and trembling on the battlefield. As for the transcendent level beasts, they are even more scared and fleeing in all directions. Some even rush into the hunting grounds of the Holy Angel Legion. Even though they know they will die, they don't look back. They feel that compared to being purified by the holy light and burned to ashes by the angelic flames, it is better to die at the hands of the fallen angels. They don't want their souls to be eaten away. What kind of place is this? Clearly, our beast clan is the dominant side, so why is it that after the war started, we are the ones being slaughtered? It's too terrifying. What are those creatures? Why do they look so similar? Yet one side is as holy as spirits, and the other side is as evil as demons. The contrast is too great. Should we retreat? The Overlord Legion in this otherworld is too strong. Even if we manage to conquer it reluctantly, our beast clan will suffer heavy losses. Even we ourselves will die on the battlefield. Compared to death, forget about the rewards of the supreme rules. In the rear of the battlefield, a group of powerful beasts gathered together to discuss the war. Without exception, they are all at the transcendent late stage. Originally, they were at the forefront, leading the army of wild monsters to fight to the death. But now, they have all retreated to the rear of the battlefield. The reason is that they are afraid of being killed. The enemy's strength has exceeded their expectations. We can't retreat. The supreme rules have restrictions. Before the war completely turns against us, we cannot surrender or retreat. Otherwise, the supreme rules will kill us. These words made the transcendent beasts present feel a sense of dread. Death lies ahead, and death lies behind. What should they do? Just at this moment, a roar suddenly came from the distant horizon. The terrifying sound waves shattered the clouds in the sky. The transcendent beasts quickly looked over and saw three massive figures flying towards them. In the blink of an eye, they crossed mountains and forests. They are about to arrive at the battlefield. It's Lord Herbert, Lord Ingram, and Lord Tim. The three esteemed individuals have arrived. The crowd of transcendent beasts immediately became excited. Those who are referred to as esteemed individuals by them are naturally saint-rank beasts that are more powerful than them. Furthermore, these three esteemed individuals are also their direct leaders. What's going on? Didn't the three esteemed individuals claim that they wouldn't participate in this war? Why have they suddenly appeared? One of the transcendent beasts said with some confusion. Soon, another transcendent beast clarified, it must be because the war is not going well, so the three esteemed individuals have been dispatched by the supreme rules to oversee this war. That must be it. Other transcendent beasts nodded in agreement and exclaimed, with the arrival of the three esteemed individuals, victory in this war will surely belong to our beast clan. The world rules of the floating island are rigid. It's like a program that follows a predetermined path. It won't kill Overlord professionals with a single blow. So originally, the three saint-rank beasts would not appear on the battlefield. Obviously, this is because the situation of the war has deteriorated too quickly. The world rules have underestimated the war power of Paradise Town. They had no choice but to intervene forcefully and use their trump cards. Of course, this is limited to the trump cards within a radius of 150 kilometers. If the range is expanded, there will be even more saint-rank beasts descending onto the battlefield. For Paradise Town, this war is actually a test of upgrading. If they pass the test, they will have a period of peace ahead. The world rules of the floating island will no longer engage in meaningless, experience-giving activities, but will let Paradise Town face the four major local transcendent level forces of the Dark Forest directly. Now that the three esteemed individuals have arrived, we should also return to the battlefield. We can't let the three esteemed individuals think that we are afraid of death. All right, the crowd of transcendent beasts agreed. Without hesitation, they all took off and rushed towards the distant battlefield. At the same time, many high-ranking angels approached. A battle of transcendent level instantly erupted. What the transcendent beasts didn't know was that their three esteemed leaders, whom they were loyal to, were unable to successfully enter the battlefield. Before they could approach, several figures appeared out of thin air and intercepted them. Three saint-rank beasts. One is a huge wolf entwined with purple lightning. One is a flame lion with two heads, its fur blazing red like fire. The last Saint rank beast is a giant python over 60 meters long, its body covered in emerald green with golden stripes, and it even has a golden horn on its head. 2 Saint rank late stage. 1 Saint rank peak. With these 3 Saint rank beasts working together, even the green dragon Audrich would have to flee with its tail between its legs. The supreme rules are really making a fuss over nothing. A foreign world territory that hasn't even had half a month to develop, why would it need us to personally take action? The tide of beasts led by those transcendent beasts is enough to destroy it, not to mention the million-strong native race's army coming from behind. Don't be careless. The supreme rules know everything and can do anything. It has issued such an order for a reason. Let's get to work quickly. The flame lion with a body tens of meters long opened its mouth and spewed out 2 long fire dragons, discontentedly saying, "Hurry up and finish it, I still want to go back to sleep." You won't be able to go back. Swish, swish, swish. At this moment, 3 stunning figures descended as if tearing through space. They were 6-winged angel of strength Rain, 6-winged fallen angel Gladys, and Ayata, who had evolved into a 4-winged angel. All 3 of them have reached the saint rank. At the same time, a barrier suddenly appeared, enveloping the surrounding 10,000 meters of space. This is a sealing barrier, similar to the divine art war shackles of the Dominion Angel. It's a pity, only 3 have come. Otherwise, my lord could have immediately ascended to the saint rank. In the distant sky, an elegant and noble figure appeared slowly, and a cold voice tinged with disappointment. 33%. Chapter 194. Come and die quickly. In an instant, the 4 great saint rank beings descended. They surrounded 3 saint rank level monsters. A sealing barrier appeared, enveloping an area of 10,000 meters. Just as 6-winged fallen angel Gladys said, since they have come, they shouldn't think about going back. Witnessing this scene, the expressions of the 3 saint rank monsters immediately changed. A newly promoted town level 4 in world territory unexpectedly possessed 4 saint rank powerhouses. This made them incredulous. They also felt a sense of being deceived. Instinctively, they felt that the supreme rules were fooling them. Originally, they were not supposed to appear here. It was the command of the supreme rules that made them coordinate the army of wild monsters to eliminate this foreign world territory called Paradise Town. But before they even set foot on the battlefield, they were surrounded by 4 saint rank powerhouses. Their path was blocked, and their retreat was sealed. Even the space was sealed. Isn't this like catching turtles in a jar? What are you afraid of? We are 3 veteran saint rank beings, 1 at the peak of saint rank, and 2 at the late stage of saint rank. Although the enemy has 4 saint rank beings, only 1 of them is at the late stage of saint rank, and the other 3 have just stepped into the saint rank level. Maybe their realm is not stable yet. We have an absolute chance of winning. These words came from the silver wolf, which was huge in size and surrounded by purple lightning. Its voice was like thunder, shaking the surroundings. This greatly boosted the confidence of the other 2 saint rank monsters. But at this moment, they received a message from the lightning silver wolf. Let's see how the situation unfolds later. I don't know why, but I feel something is not right. As soon as we find an opportunity, we will break through the barrier and leave this place. The 2-headed flame lion. The golden patterned giant python. Due to their lack of knowledge about the angels, and their insufficient understanding of the group's strength, the 3 saint rank monsters did not recognize Angelia. Although the green dragon Audrich's level was not as high as theirs, it was a pure-blooded dragon, inheriting the bloodline power of the dragon race, so it immediately recognized Angelia's identity. Its first reaction was to escape. If it couldn't escape, it would fight. If it couldn't win, it would surrender. But these 3 saint rank monsters had no idea what they were facing. Seeing that they had the advantage in level, they actually wanted to see how the situation would unfold. Attack. Kill the most powerful woman first. The 3 saint rank monsters quickly released their respective domains. They were the domains of lightning, fire, and raging wind. Each domain had 2 to 3 different attributes. The more attributes attached to the domain world, the stronger its power became. Just like Angelia's domain world, it had so many attributes that it was unimaginable. In the battle last night, it directly frightened those several saint rank nightmare knights. At this moment, relying on their higher levels, the 3 saint rank monsters rushed towards Angelia. They intended to kill Angelia in the first moment. 1 at the peak of saint rank, and 2 at the late stage of saint rank. Indeed, they had great confidence. However, Angelia did not indulge them. only to see the elegant secretary and raise her hand and extend a slender finger, lightly tapping from a distance of thousands of meters. She softly uttered, "Annihilation." In an instant, the void rippled. Then, the space in front shattered layer by layer, like a broken mirror. Only 3 loud bangs were heard. The domain worlds of the 3 saint rank monsters instantly disintegrated. They were cut apart by the terrifying power of space, turning into countless fragments. Suddenly, centered around the 3 saint rank monsters, there were thunder disintegrating, flames flying chaotically, and raging winds howling everywhere. Those were the energies within their domains. Now that their domains had collapsed, these energies naturally became uncontrollable. At the same time as their domains shattered, the 3 saint rank monsters screamed in agony, and then began to vomit blood, heavily injured. They stared at Angelia in shock. I can't understand why a professional at the saint rank late stage can have such terrifying strength. She didn't even release her domain, yet she was able to severely damage them with just one move. How could they know that Angelia had once killed the green dragon Aldrich at the saint rank level with her transcendent power? Now, Angelia has stepped into the saint rank late stage. Compared to back then, Angelia's strength has increased by dozens of times or more. Imprisonment. Another soft whisper. Vast spatial power gathered and divided the battlefield into 2 areas. On one side were the flame lion and the horned python. On the other side was the thunder silver wolf. Kill. Rennie, Gladys, and Ayada joined forces to attack the flame lion and the horned python. This was the opportunity Angelia gave them to enhance their strength. Naturally, they had to seize it. On the other side, Angelia turned her gaze to the massive thunder silver wolf. The thunder silver wolf, a peak saint rank monster. Master of the power of thunder. Even the green dragon Aldrich would have to bow its head when it arrived. But when the thunder silver wolf saw Angelia's cold and indifferent golden eyes, it trembled in fear, lacking the aura and majesty of a peak saint rank monster. Indeed, its intuition was correct. This was not just a little strange, it was extremely strange. A professional at the saint rank late stage actually made it, a peak saint rank monster, feel a sense of fear as if facing a demigod. No one would believe it if it were said. The thunder silver wolf glanced at the battlefield, across, with the corner of its eye. Its 2 good brothers were being beaten mercilessly by 3 saint rank initial stage radiant winged humans, almost unable to fight back. After a few rounds, they were covered in injuries. The flame lion had its head severed. The horned python had its tail cut off. Lion blood and snake blood fell like a dense rain onto the boundary below, staining a large area red. If nothing unexpected happened, these 2 good brothers would soon be on their way. We really fell for the highest rules. We didn't come to dominate the war, but to come here and die. The thunder silver wolf took a deep breath and quickly spoke in human language, saying to Angelia, "Respected winged human powerhouse, we can discuss using peaceful means to resolve this war. As long as you agree, this wolf king will immediately order the retreat of the monster army. And guarantee not to set foot in your territory again." However, Angelia ignored it and prepared to take action. The thunder silver wolf shouted in fear, "Hold on, I can choose to surrender and serve as your overlord, or even become your overlord mount." Angelia coldly glanced at it. "You are too weak. Even in this broken world, only demigod-level monsters are qualified to become my lord's mount. Don't think about suicide. Only by dying in my hands can you fulfill your value." In Angelia's eyes, no matter where, the great lord of holy light must have the best things. Demigods are the pinnacle of the floating island world. If there were demigod monsters, they could barely become the Lord of Holy Light's mount in this world. As for saint rank monsters, forget it. You dare to insult the wolf too much. The thunder silver wolf roared in anger. It spewed out thick purple lightning bolts towards Angelia. Annihilation. Anya, with her cold eyes, spoke calmly. Suddenly, countless thick purple thunderbolts disappeared into thin air, not even touching her clothes. Then, she extended her hand and slashed through the void. In an instant, the space seemed to be cut open by a sharp blade, and a pitch-black crack extended for thousands of kilometers. All the way to the thunder silver wolf's face. It wanted to escape, but the surrounding space was imprisoned. Even if it used all its magical power, it couldn't break free. In the end, it could only watch as its massive body was torn in half along with the space. On the other side, Rennie and the others killed the flame lion and the horned python. With the help of the immense primal energy, all 3 of them advanced to the saint rank mid-stage, reaping great rewards. Thus, all 3 saint rank monsters fell. They came quickly and died quickly. 33%. Chapter 195 Going to Heaven and Earth, There is no way to go. The three adults are all dead. In an instant, the battlefield descended into chaos. The first to panic were the king-level wild monsters and the transcendent realm beasts. They possessed extremely high intelligence, no less than humans. The latter could even speak. Originally, they were waiting for the arrival of the three saint-rank beasts, sweeping through the enemy army and reducing Paradise Town to ruins. But in the blink of an eye, the three saint-rank adults they were loyal to were killed by someone. Their bodies were also taken away. This terrified them to the core. They thought they had invincible reinforcements, but instead, they were the first to die. And not even a ripple was stirred. This is a war that is destined not to be won. The war power of Paradise Town is too powerful. Not only do they have well-organized elite armies, but they also have several saint-rank powerhouses. Even the three adults were killed by them. How can we lead the beast army to victory? Retreat. I believe the supreme rules will not punish us. In the course of the war, millions of wild monsters had already died. Looking around, the battlefield was littered with the corpses of wild monsters. The glaring blood had already stained the earth. In an area of tens of kilometers, the air was filled with a strong smell of blood. This was not a battlefield, but a slaughterhouse. The army of wild monsters had already lost the battle. If they didn't retreat, the entire beast tide would be annihilated, and all the participating wild monsters, including these intelligent beasts, would be slaughtered. Retreat. The transcendent beasts on the battlefield didn't dare to hesitate. They immediately issued the order to retreat to the army of wild monsters. But at this moment, one after another, huge barriers appeared out of thin air on the battlefield, enveloping countless wild monsters inside. This was the divine art, war shackles. They came from the Dominion Angels located on the battlefield. They used the war shackles to capture all the participating wild monsters. After all, these wild monsters were experienced monsters. Killing them would allow the Angel Army and other troops in the territory to level up and enhance their strength. In the past, they had to search everywhere for the traces of wild monsters. Now, all the wild monsters within a radius of 150 kilometers were concentrated here. How could the angels let this opportunity slip by? Not only did a large number of war shackles appear on the ground, but also in the sky. Countless wild monsters were imprisoned, becoming trapped beasts. Only a few lucky wild monsters were not enveloped by the energy shields and had a chance to escape from the battlefield. These wild monsters were like startled birds and beasts. They immediately fled in all directions away from the battlefield. What surprised them was that the glowing-winged people on the battlefield did not intercept them, but let them escape. But they didn't think too much about it. Escaping was the most important thing. Soon, countless fleeing wild monsters disappeared into the dense forest, preparing to return to where they came from. However, soon, in the forest ahead of them, on the mountaintops, countless figures suddenly emerged. All of these figures were native intelligent races from the floating island world, including goblins, dwarves, gnomes, and forest trolls. Without exception, all these native races were fully armed. It's those intelligent creatures. Their large army has finally arrived. Damn it. Why did they only arrive now? If they had come earlier and joined forces to attack Paradise Town, who knows what could have happened? Well, even if they had arrived earlier, it wouldn't have made a difference. Paradise Town has become so powerful that only the four major transcendent level forces can eliminate it. Among the wild monsters that managed to escape from the battlefield, there were some extremely lucky transcendent beasts. Upon seeing the large army of indigenous intelligent races gathering ahead, they did not immediately make any sound to alert them. After all, they had lost so many underlings. Even their leader had been completely wiped out. If the indigenous intelligent races did not lose a group and weaken their strength, the jungle world would no longer belong to their beast race in the future. Hurry up and go die. It would be better if they all died. Some transcendent beasts cursed secretly in their hearts. But at this moment, something that terrified the transcendent beasts happened. The indigenous forces that had gathered did not bypass them and enter the battlefield. Instead, they launched an attack on them as soon as the army approached. Intense rain of arrows, patches of elemental magic. They instantly killed a large number of wild monsters. There were even transcendent level beasts that were killed on the spot, their faces filled with confusion until their death. They couldn't believe it. They never expected that these indigenous intelligent races would launch an attack on them. Because under the constraints of the highest rules of the world, their beast race and the indigenous intelligent races were supposed to be allies. At least until the destruction of Paradise Town, the beasts and the indigenous forces would not fight each other. This was the rule. Damn it. What do these indigenous intelligent creatures want? Do they dare to disobey even the command of the highest rules? Stop. An angry roar came from a transcendent beast, shaking the jungle. Are you all crazy? Your enemies are not us, but the overlord from another world inside Paradise Town. The light shines upon the world. The great and benevolent Lord of Holy Light will eventually conquer this world. In front of the jungle, a devout voice rang out in a timely manner. These were the believers praising their own God of faith. At the next moment, a group of powerful indigenous intelligent creatures emerged from the jungle. Behind them followed a massive elite army. Believe in the Lord and gain eternal life. A forest troll nearly 8 meters tall stepped forward. He wielded an extremely sharp greatsword and said to the wide-eyed transcendent beasts, "You beasts who can't even perform basic prayer rituals are not qualified to be the Lord's followers. Obey the orders of the holy envoy. Kill." In an instant, the elite indigenous army behind him moved in unison. They charged straight towards the transcendent beasts and the dense group of wild monsters in the jungle. Damn it. These indigenous races have surrendered to Paradise Town. Run, some transcendent beasts shouted. They didn't dare to stay and fight. Instead, they flew straight up, trying to fly over the encirclement of the indigenous elite army. However, as soon as they flew up into the sky, a large number of figures chased after them. These figures were also from the indigenous forces. And they were also transcendent level. There was no way to escape, whether in the sky or on the ground. They were completely surrounded, with no hope of escape. Soon, a great battle broke out. Until their demise, these transcendent beasts never understood when the people from Paradise Town had crossed the battlefield and when they had incorporated these elite armies of the indigenous forces. They didn't even see the battle. It was as if these indigenous forces armies were originally here to help eliminate their beast race on behalf of Paradise Town. 34%. Chapter 196. More than 800,000 believers. Teleportation array plan. Similar scenes have also appeared in other regions. The Warcraft and wild monsters fleeing in all directions have all been attacked by local forces. These local forces, which should have besieged Paradise Town just like them, have now all turned their backs on them. Many of the wild monsters died in confusion, including those highly intelligent wild monsters and Warcraft. They never expected such a thing to happen. Allies defined by the supreme rules ended up helping Paradise Town to turn against them. Where the hell can they reason with this? Elena. You did a great job. Lin Yu stood on the city wall of the territory, with a bright smile on his handsome face. With the view from the watchtower around the territory, he could clearly see the war erupting in the distance. It was about 30,000 meters away. The area of the battle almost formed a large circle centered around his Paradise Town. According to incomplete statistics, the number of local intelligent races participating in the war has reached over 800,000. They were modeled after legions and intercepted the Warcraft and wild monsters fleeing in all directions. These over 800,000 local intelligent beings have all become his followers under the divine arts of faith from Elena and other seeker angels and the four-winged grand angel. At the beginning, the size of the local forces was over 1 million. The reason why there are only over 800,000 left is because most of the disappeared local intelligent beings were two-headed demons. Two-headed demons have incomplete souls. They occasionally enter a state of chaos and frenzy. Even with the purification of divine arts of faith, it is difficult to make them into followers. So, they were killed by the angels. Hearing Lin Yu's praise, Elena didn't dare to take credit and quickly said, "My lord, this is the effort of all the seeker angels and grand angels, and I am just one of them." In order to subdue the large army of local forces that came from afar, the Angel Legion dispatched more than 500 8-winged Seeker Angels, 6-winged Seeker Angels, and 4-winged Grand Angels, releasing countless divine arts of faith. There was also the help of some Dominion Angels. It was the Dominion Angels who opened the gates of Holy Light, teleporting them to the target location. There were also angel legions of various sizes coordinating with them, suppressing the local intelligent races that refused to bow their heads, including the extermination of the two-headed demon legion. In short, this is the collective credit of the angels. It does not belong to any individual. Lin Yu nodded in agreement. This time, including Elena, the group of sacred angels directly converted over 800,000 followers for him, which is extremely terrifying and a great achievement. He especially wanted to reward these angels. But he didn't know what to reward them with. Angels seemed to lack nothing. And being favored by him, the Lord of Holy Light, is the greatest reward for angels. Lin Yu muttered to himself, if I were a deity, I could use the power of faith to condense divine power as a reward for those angels. Indeed, I need to become stronger myself. Otherwise, I wouldn't know how to reward the angels for their great achievements. He glanced at Elena, the gentle and lovely six-winged seeker angel, by his side. As for Elena's reward, Lin Yu had already thought about it a long time ago. It would just mean working harder at night. Lin Yu turned his gaze back to the battlefield outside the territory. At this moment, the battlefield was scattered around are a large number of energy shields. Inside each energy shield are tens of thousands of wild monsters and demons. They are engaged in a fierce battle with the Angel Legion and the Territory Army. Rather than calling it a battle, it is more like a one-sided massacre and extermination. Trapped in the shackles of war, the wild monsters cannot escape. They can only continue to die one after another at the hands of the angels and the Territory Army. At most 3 more hours, and this war can basically come to an end. Lin Yu said, there is no denying that the gains from this battle must be astonishing. However, the daily hunting that follows will be somewhat difficult. Within a radius of 150 kilometers, most of the wild monsters and local forces have gathered on this battlefield. Even if there are some that slip through the cracks, their numbers will be very few. If all the monsters are dead, what will we hunt? In order to continue hunting a large number of wild monsters every day, like before, we can only dispatch the Territory Army to areas 1.5 million kilometers away. The Angel Legion is not a problem. They can all fly and possess extreme speed. Transmigrating a distance of 150 kilometers does not require much time. But it's not the same for the other Territory Army units. Making them trek over 100 kilometers to hunt in a different area might consume 2/3 of their time, which is not cost-effective. Standing by, six-winged seeker angel Elena said, my lord, do not worry. You just need to let the artisan angel build teleportation arrays, and this problem can be easily solved. Teleportation arrays. Lin Yu's eyes lit up. Elena nodded and said, the artisan angel is not lacking in the ability to build teleportation arrays. After all, there are multiple teleportation arrays on the City of Angels they built. My lord just needs to provide them with a batch of specific magical materials. For example, magic gems. These are the energy source of the teleportation arrays. A smile appeared on Lin Yu's face as he said, this is good news. As for magic gems, I have plenty. During this time, the Angel Legion captured a large number of local strongholds. They also killed a massive number of undead creatures and wild monsters. Although magic gems are precious and have a low drop rate, overall, he has already accumulated nearly 100 of them, which should be enough for the artisan angels to build teleportation arrays. Immediately, Lin Yu communicated with the Myriad World's floating island and asked, can teleportation arrays be built without using blueprints? Yes, using blueprints to build teleportation arrays only requires the consumption of various basic resources. If an Overlord profession player builds a teleportation array on their own, they must bear all the costs of the magical materials themselves, and the floating island will not provide any assistance. Comparing the two, it can be seen that blueprints are very valuable. Without blueprints, not only do various magical materials need to be self-provided, even the craftsmen who build the teleportation arrays need to be solved by oneself. But with blueprints, it's different. With a single thought, the array can be formed. And it will only consume 3 basic resources: wood, stone, and iron ore. But the key problem is that Lin Yu does not have the blueprint for the teleportation array, so even if he wants to consume a large amount of magical materials, he still needs to create it. Otherwise, it will seriously affect the upcoming daily hunting. Furthermore, with teleportation arrays, it will be very convenient to attack distant local strongholds. Then we'll wait until the City of Angels is built. Let Coral and the others build the teleportation arrays. With the abilities of the artisan angels, it should be quick to build a batch of teleportation arrays and won't delay the construction of the second throne angel city. For Lin Yu, conquering the dark forest is the most important. And the City of Angels is one of his decisive weapons in conquering the dark forest. Its construction plan naturally cannot be affected. At the earliest tonight, at the latest tomorrow morning, my first throne angel city will be built, floating in the clouds. 34%. Chapter 197. The water of life should be dedicated to the Lord of Holy Light. Just as the war on Lin Yu's side was intensifying. Far away, over 1,000 kilometers away, two massive figures finally returned to the capital of the giant kingdom. They were Lin Yu's two saint-rank mountain giant disciples. Originally, they should have returned to the giant kingdom a day ago. The reason for the delay was that they were afraid of arousing suspicion from the elder. After all, they had been ambushed by 4 dragons. Their elite transcendent squad was wiped out, and they lost a companion at the saint rank level. In their report, they were chased and heavily injured by the 4 dragons, and they barely managed to escape. Delaying their return would increase the credibility of their words. Not only that, they also exchanged heavy blows with each other. At this moment, the 2 mountain giants both looked like they were still recovering from serious injuries. After reporting the situation, we will find an opportunity to enter the treasury and take away all the stored magic cores. In addition, there are other treasury items, take as much as you can. Our Lord's territory has just begun to develop and needs those things. Understood. The other mountain giant nodded and said, I heard that there is a saint rank level spatial equipment in the kingdom's treasury. I will use it to store the treasury items. Take everything except those with magic restrictions. Alright, but be careful. Okay, magic restrictions with alarm functions. Once triggered, the plan to move the treasury could easily fail. This was something they didn't want to see. If the first task given by the Holy Envoy ended in failure, they would be too ashamed to face the Great Lord of Holy Light. Not long after, the 2 saint-rank mountain giants arrived at the central temple of the capital. Here, they met the elderly elder. The elder was already old. Although his level was at the peak of the saint rank, his physical abilities had declined significantly. If it were a simple physical battle, an ordinary saint rank mountain giant in his prime could easily overpower the elder and press him to the ground. That's why some high-ranking officials in the kingdom dared to say, just because you're the elder, doesn't mean I won't dare to beat you. Under the witness of the Titan statue. Not to mention beating up the elder, even beating up the king was possible. The premise was that they had to be strong enough. If their strength was insufficient, they would instead be hammered. What happened exactly? Why is it just the 2 of you who came back? What about the bandit people? The elder's expression was gloomy. His voice was harsh, as if suppressing his anger. When the 2 saint-rank mountain giants just set foot in the capital's territory, he had already received the news. Dozens of people went out on a mission. But only 2 came back, and they were still injured. This made him feel heavy-hearted. Without even thinking, he knew that something unexpected had happened. Those who couldn't return were probably never coming back. A saint-rank late-stage mountain giant said, Elder, we fell into Audrich's ambush. The destroyed subsidiary tribe base was purely a conspiracy. Audrich joined forces with 3 saint-rank dragons and set up this trap. Banit was very unfortunate and was torn to pieces by those dragons. He then detailed the development of the situation in a detailed manner. After listening, the elder couldn't contain his anger. He roared, Damn it! I've always known that that dragon is an ungrateful wolf. If it weren't for the king sheltering it back then, how could it have had the chance to stay in the dark forest? It would have been captured and imprisoned on the 36 islands long ago. It was the king who gave it a chance to reform. I didn't expect that it would not only be ungrateful, but also join forces with other dragons to harm our mountain giant clan. It's truly damned. Listening to the elder's roar. The 2 saint-rank mountain giants immediately agreed, Audrich should indeed die. Woodrow. The elder looked at the saint-rank late-stage mountain giant and asked, Has Audrich and the other 3 dragons already escaped from our kingdom's territory? I don't know for now. Mountain giant Woodrow shook his head and said, We were chased all the way and only managed to escape by luck. They might not have gone far yet, or they might have already disappeared. The elder frowned and asked, Are you sure there were 4 giant dragons? Yes, there couldn't have been more. Woodrow quickly assured him. Perhaps he exerted too much force, causing him to cough repeatedly and even cough up blood. Seeing this, the elder fell silent. After a moment, he said, This matter must be resolved. We must make Audrich and those 3 giant dragons pay the price. Later, I will contact the Grand Commander and have him lead a group of saint-rank experts from the kingdom. At that time, the 2 of you will guide the Grand Commander. Elder, do we need to report this to His Majesty the King? No need, the elder said. His Majesty and the Great Prophet are still in seclusion, studying the laws. We shouldn't disturb them because of this. Besides, are a few evil dragons really something we can't handle ourselves? Wise decision, Elder. Mountain giant Woodrow thought for a moment and said, Although I also want to kill those evil dragons and avenge Banit, Aguchi and I are seriously injured. He wanted to find an excuse to stay in the capital and move the treasury. But before he could finish speaking, two green lights flew towards them. The two mountain giants quickly reached out and caught them. When they looked at what was in their palms, they saw a small bottle containing milky white liquid. The bottle was extremely tiny. It was much smaller than their fingernails. This was mainly because their bodies were too huge, nearly 20 meters tall. A bottle that was only the size of a human palm looked pitifully small in their hands. What is this? The life water of the nature elves, a sacred healing item. The elder said with a serious expression, I will give the two of you 3 hours. After 3 hours, regardless of whether your injuries have healed or not, you must go with the Grand Commander to carry out the mission. Upon hearing this, mountain giant Woodrow and Iguchi exchanged a glance. 3 hours is enough. The two of them understood each other and immediately responded, yes, elder. Go. The elder waved his hand. After the two mountain giants left, his expression became even more gloomy. How many years had it been? It seemed that it had been almost 10 years since the last saint-rank mountain giant fell. This grudge must be avenged. This shame must be cleansed with the dragon blood of the green dragon Audric. Even if Audric had already escaped back to the 36 islands, the giant kingdom still had to kill some dragons to comfort the slain giant warrior Bannet. On the other side, mountain giant Woodrow and Iguchi returned to their territory. Woodrow looked at the tiny life water in his hand and said, the elder is right, this is a sacred healing item, only the nature elves have such a thing. Put it away and present it to our lord later. All right. Mountain giant Iguchi immediately agreed. Such a treasure should naturally be presented to the great lord of holy light. Moreover, their injuries were just a pretense and did not require the use of precious life water. Iguchi whispered, in these years, the elf garden has given our kingdom a large amount of life water to maintain our friendly relationship with the giant kingdom. It is said that all of that life water is stored in His Majesty's private treasury. If we can get inside. Forget it. Mountain giant Woodrow shook his head and said, His Majesty's private treasury is protected by demigod-level restrictions, we can't get in at all. If we forcefully break in, it would be a dead end. The most important thing is to complete the mission given by the Holy Envoy. All right. Iguchi felt a bit regretful, then said, we are both high-ranking members of the kingdom, it's not difficult for us to enter the kingdom's treasury. The difficult part is how to quietly take away everything inside the treasury. Taking one or two things wouldn't attract attention. But their intention was to empty the kingdom's treasury. This required a perfect plan. Otherwise, even if they could leave the treasury, it would be difficult to leave the capital. This was the problem they faced. The two mountain giants quietly discussed for a long time. Then they left one after another. The giant kingdom was always on guard against external enemies, but not against internal thieves. That elder at the peak of the saint rank would never have dreamed that these two high-ranking members of the kingdom who had returned from the outside world had abandoned their faith in the Titan true God and become followers of the Lord of Holy Light. 34%. Chapter 198. The threat to Paradise Town is greater. Approximately 2 hours later, a team set off on time from the capital of the giant kingdom. They flew directly southeast at an extremely fast speed. The size of this team was not large. In total, there were only 13 people. However, every member of the team was a saint rank mountain giant, and there was even one who had reached the peak of the saint rank. With the strength of this team alone, they were enough to dominate the entire dark forest. They also had absolute confidence in being able to kill 4 dragons, including the green dragon Audrich, to avenge the sacrificed elite squad and the giant warrior Bennett. Woodrow, the mountain giant, and Agutaki were also in the team. They had already been to the treasury of the giant kingdom. In the kingdom's treasury, they not only found a large number of magic cores, but also plundered countless metal materials, magic materials, and various other valuable items. The storage equipment on their bodies was filled to the brim. If it weren't for some items being locked by magic prohibitions, which they were afraid would be discovered if forcibly opened, they would have completely emptied the kingdom's treasury. But even so, they had already returned with a full load. That being said, once the theft of the kingdom's treasury was discovered, it would definitely shake the entire giant kingdom. And they would definitely be in a hopeless situation. However, they were not worried at all. Because they had successfully left the capital. The next step was to go to Paradise Town and pay their respects to the great Lord of Holy Light. Once they arrived in Paradise Town, they would be safe. They also didn't have to worry about being exposed. Woodrow, the mountain giant, transmitted his voice and said, according to the previous plan, Bennett is now on his way to Paradise Town and should arrive soon. He should have also collected a lot of magic cores. Agutaki said, anyway, as long as he doesn't run into us on the way, everything will be fine. According to their intelligence, the mountain giant Bennett was already dead. Torn to pieces by 4 evil dragons. If the alive Bennett suddenly appeared in front of their team, wouldn't that be a disaster? This team, which was already filled with anger, would definitely suppress the 3 of them first, then take them back to the capital for trial. By then, they would undoubtedly be doomed. There were 13 members in the team. In addition to the 2 of them, there were 11 other saint rank powerhouses. They were powerless to resist such a powerful force. After a slight pause, Agutaki transmitted his voice and asked, what should we do next? Should we directly bring the leaders to Audrich's territory? Audrich's territory had long since become a ruin. This could be easily explained. Because they had fought with Audrich and destroyed his territory, it was not surprising. The problem was, what should they do next? Woodrow said, if we can't find Audrich and the other 3 dragons, the leaders will definitely not give up. We can't wander around the world with them. We need to find an opportunity to leave the team and go to Paradise Town. I don't know the true strength of the Lord of Holy Light. If we are confident, we can directly bring the leaders to Paradise Town. Let the Lord of Holy Light capture them. The leaders are peak saint rank powerhouses, plus 10 saint rank mountain giants. If they all embrace the light and believe in our Lord, it will greatly enhance the strength of our Lord's territory. We can give it a try. Agutaki said, the Lord of Holy Light can defeat the 3 of us with just one move. His strength is extraordinary. Besides, there are other holy envoys in Paradise Town. At that time, the 3 of us will cooperate with the lords of the holy envoys. Perhaps we can really succeed. No need to rush to conclusions. Woodrow said, let me pray to the great Lord of the Holy Light and ask for a divine revelation from my Lord. That's very reliable. Aguchi nodded. Immediately, the mountain giant Woodrow prayed repeatedly in his consciousness. The prayers of the believers can be heard by the God of faith. Although Lin Yu is currently only a transcendent professional and has not become a true deity of faith, he can still hear the prayers of the believers through the connection of the faith thread. Moreover, the distance is not far. It's only about 1,500 kilometers in total. This distance does not affect the transmission of the power of faith at all. When Lin Yu becomes a god, even if believers from another world pray to him, he will be able to receive them in a timely manner. After a moment, the mountain giant Woodrow received the divine revelation. Hidden beneath his wooden expression, his inner world was filled with excitement and joy. The god has responded to him. He immediately shook his spiritual consciousness and transmitted his voice to the mountain giant Aguchi beside him, saying, the Lord of Holy Light has bestowed a divine revelation. We can lead the team to Paradise Town. At that time, the lords of the holy envoys will take care of them. Praise the Lord. Aguchi also breathed a sigh of relief. The problem is solved. As for whether Paradise Town can handle the 11 saint rank mountain giants, including the peak saint rank Grand Commander, they have no doubt. If the Supreme Creator says it can, then it definitely can. Just at this moment, in the team, a burly figure, nearly 20 meters tall mountain giant suddenly spoke, Woodrow, do you know where Paradise Town is? Hearing this, the mountain giant Woodrow's expression remained unchanged. Then he answered, I have a rough idea of where Paradise Town is. Why does the Grand Commander suddenly ask this question? The power of faith. It can guide believers in the right direction. Even if they have never been to Paradise Town, they will not get lost. Because their God of faith is there. And this nearly 20-meter tall mountain giant is the strongest peak saint rank powerhouse in the team, and also the Grand Commander of the elite legions of the Giant Kingdom. He personally took action this time to solve everything once and for all. The Grand Commander's voice was deep, like rolling thunder, and he said, before we leave, the Elder has instructed us to take care of Paradise Town as well. Compared to those few dragons, Paradise Town poses a greater threat. That overlord from another world. In less than half a month, he has raised his territory to the level of a town. This information has been accurately transmitted by the Supreme Rules. If we don't eliminate it as soon as possible, Paradise Town will become a disaster. Upon hearing this, the mountain giant Woodrow didn't say much, just said, rest assured, Grand Commander, I will definitely lead you to Paradise Town. The Grand Commander looked at Woodrow strangely. He felt that something was off, but couldn't quite put his finger on it. However, His straightforward, mountain giant personality prevented him from thinking too much about it, so he continued on with the team. 34%. Chapter 199 Goddess of Destiny, Mother-in-Law. The edge of the territory. On the magnificent city wall stands the tall and handsome figure of Lin Yu. Before entering the myriad world's floating island, his appearance could only be described as delicate and handsome. Now, in just over a week's time, both his physique and appearance have been developing towards a more handsome direction. He can be described as a beautiful jade in the world. Lin Yu feels that this is probably because he has spent too much time with angels and has frequently interacted with them, so his appearance is also transforming towards the flawless appearance of an angel. The six-winged seeker angel, Elena, has returned to the battlefield. Her goal is to break through to the saint rank level. The transcendent realm monsters on the battlefield will greatly assist her. Standing beside Lin Yu at this moment is Secretary N. The four pairs of angel wings behind her emit a holy radiance. Especially the pair of flowing feather wings, the divine light they emit envelops her well-proportioned figure, making her even more charming, holy, and noble. In terms of temperament, Secretary N is unmatched. Even the newly summoned eight-winged angels cannot compare to Angelia. In Lin Yu's heart, Angelia is more important than any other angel, even Elena who serves him every night. Lin Yu places his hands on the edge of the city wall, looking down at the chaotic battlefield outside the city. As far as the eye can see, the ground is littered with the corpses of wild monsters. The bloody scene is like a purgatory. This is war. There is no right or wrong, no justice or evil. There is only a distinction between the strong and the weak. The weak creatures are destined to fall on the battlefield. Just like those combat professionals, if they don't quickly raise their levels and make themselves stronger, they will eventually be killed by others. It's a pity, Lin Yu said regretfully. If I hadn't been stuck at my current level, my level would have skyrocketed to the peak of the saint rank after this war. In such a large-scale war, Lin Yu didn't gain any experience at all. It is indeed a bit regrettable. Angelia, who is beside him, speaks softly, "My lord, don't worry. Just kill 2 more saint rank creatures, and your level will break through to the saint rank. When the team of mountain giants arrives later, it will be your breakthrough opportunity." 13 saint rank mountain giants. Besides Woodrow and Agutaki, there are 11 more. Lin Yu looked at the elegant secretary and asked, "Are you confident in winning? If you can't handle it, let Reni and Ayada, the angels who have already reached the saint rank, assist you." Angelia calmly said, "My lord, rest assured, saint rank creatures are like ants in my eyes. Even if a demigod descends, they can't make waves in my domain. Demigods, masters of the laws. The power of the laws far surpasses the power of the domain. But Secretary N can defeat a demigod who masters the laws with the power of her domain. It can be seen how strong her current strength is." At this moment, Angelia said again, "After annihilating that team of mountain giants, my realm will be able to step into the peak of the saint rank. By then, my strength will become even stronger." In this war, Angelia has only made one move. That is to kill the peak saint rank Thunder Silver Wolf. After that, she didn't make any moves. This is because killing those wild monsters on the battlefield, and even the transcendent monsters, are of little use to her, and the amount of primal energy obtained is too small. Only saint rank creatures can help her level up. "I look forward to the day when you become a demigod," Lin Yu said with a smile. Similarly, he also looks forward to his own promotion to the saint rank. This is the realm that countless professionals need to look up to. Angelia immediately said, "Praise the Lord. I will definitely promote to demigod soon and cleanse this world of all the evil heretics who refuse to embrace the light." Lin Yu nodded. Perhaps in the eyes of those enemies, he was the most evil. But what does it matter? To compete for dominance in the floating island world, everyone is an enemy. If you want to rule this floating island and become the lord of an island, you naturally have to kill those die-hard individuals. Only those who lower their heads have a chance to survive. Just at this moment, the island's chat channel suddenly stirred up a commotion. The cause was a player of the overlord profession. "Brothers, I hit the jackpot today. I successfully captured 3 local power bases in a row, earning a whopping 900 glory points and countless resources. Envious of the big shot. Could it be another Apex level overlord? I'm not an Apex level overlord, it's purely because I had good luck today." The elite troops of those local power bases mysteriously disappeared, leaving behind empty nests that I easily conquered. Haha. Feels like winning the lottery, overnight riches. Brother upstairs, is your territory in the dark forest? Yes. How did you know? I see. I see +1. What does that mean? Brother upstairs, if I were you, I wouldn't be laughing right now. Those elite legions of the local power bases didn't just disappear, they went to attack Paradise Town. Otherwise, do you think you could have gotten such a good deal? Isn't this a good thing? What a joke. This means your territory is near Paradise Town. When Lin Yu finishes off the beast tide and the forces of the local power bases, he will have the time to clean up the surrounding areas. Can your territory escape? I heard that Lin Yu has a group of black-winged angels several meters tall, clad in blood armor and wielding blood swords. They must be fallen angels. If you encounter them, you won't even know how you died. You're done for. But it really is like winning the lottery, and it's the first prize. That's not certain. You might become the first overlord to be taken down by Paradise Town. Seeing the above information, the overlord player who was just in an excited state instantly felt a chill in his heart. He even had a feeling of urgency. A person's reputation casts a shadow. In the entire floating island, who wouldn't fear Lin Yu? Even overlord players in other regions are worried that after Lin Yu unifies the dark forest, he will lead his angel army to attack them. Oh damn, I'm really unlucky. Brothers, what should I do now? Should I give all those resources to Lin Yu? But I can't bear to. Can I give a little? Consider it a tribute. Forget it. Just by looking at it, you can tell you have a short-sighted vision. Lin Yu's Angel Legion captures dozens of local bases every day, selling thousands of equipment alone. Do you think he would care about your measly resources? If I were you, I would just destroy my territory and leave that area with the existing troops. Destroy my territory. Wouldn't that turn me into a combat player? Surviving is already good enough. On another note, I wonder how the battle in Paradise Town is going. Most likely it's still intense. If Paradise Town is captured, then I won't have to destroy my territory, right? Then you better pray. Fate goddess. Little miss. Believe it or not, I can flick you to death with one finger. 34%. Chapter 200 Huge improvement. Double happiness. Time flies and it's already afternoon. It's less than 2 hours until darkness falls. The floating island world where Lin Yu is located is very large. There are a total of 8 regions. And the dark forest alone spans thousands of kilometers. However, there is no concept of time difference in this world. Around 6 o'clock in the evening, all 8 regions will welcome the night together. Darkness is the realm of undead and demons. But so far, Lin Yu's army has killed millions of undead creatures, but they haven't encountered any demons. It's unknown whether these creatures called demons actually exist or are just rumors. The war is almost over. Lin Yu glanced at the battlefield outside the city and said to Angelia standing beside him, "Order all the legions to speed up the encirclement and strive to end the battle as quickly as possible. Clean up the battlefield before darkness arrives." "Yes, my lord." Angelia saluted respectfully. She immediately conveyed Lin Yu's orders. Suddenly, the various legions of the territory became frenzied, and swiftly killed the demons and monsters on the battlefield as if they were injected with chicken blood. The killing speed increased by at least 3 times. This is the power of the divine oracle. The command from the God of faith can make believers go crazy. Of course, this also depends on the level of faith. Ordinary believers and true believers don't have such abilities. At least they have to be devout believers. If they are fanatic believers, the effect of the divine oracle will be even better. With a divine oracle, even if fanatic believers were ordered to commit suicide on the spot, they would not hesitate at all. About an hour later, the demons and monsters on the battlefield outside the city were basically cleared. And in the distance, the war in the depths of the dense forest has also ended. With the help of some angel legions, the army of over 800,000 native intelligent beings almost completely killed the scattered demons and monsters. Even if some escaped, they were only a few. Overall, it was a perfect victory. Over 99% of the demons and monsters involved in the war died on the battlefield. And this war brought great profits to Paradise Town. Apart from the improvement in the level and strength of the territory's troops, just the decomposed monster meat and demon meat alone is believed to have reached over 100 million units. In addition, there were also gold coins, equipment, blueprints, and various other items. It can only be said that it was a bumper harvest. Soon, the legions of the territory began to clean up the battlefield. The corpses of demons and monsters that kept coming were transported back to Paradise Town and piled up into huge mountains of meat in the northern area of the town. It was a spectacular sight. In terms of food, Paradise Town was definitely not lacking. Even now, with a population of over 1 million, it was still the same. On this side of the city wall, a figure wearing an exquisite crown and holding a white jade scepter appeared out of thin air. It was 8-winged Dominion Angel Catherine. She came to Lin Yu and respectfully saluted. Lin Yu nodded slightly. Gather the post-war information. To my lord, Catherine respectfully said, in this war, we have killed more than 13 million demons and monsters in total, and each legion has gained a lot. As of now, a total of 17 saint rank professionals have emerged. 486 transcendent professionals, and over 50,000 king level professionals. Most of these professionals are angels, dark elves, and forest trolls. Only a few intelligent races have been promoted to king level. The reason is that the growth potential of those intelligent races is too low. For example, goblins, a low-level troop. Their growth potential limit is only level 9. Only a very small number of goblins with extremely high talent can reach king level. Dwarves, goblins, they're all the same. Compared to them, forest trolls are high-level units, and dark elves are apex-level units. As long as they have enough primal energy, they can easily advance to king level or transcendent. Dark elves can even reach saint rank directly. That's the advantage of high-level units. As for low-level units, unless their potential is enhanced with the unit evolution blueprint, or their bloodline evolves in the spirit field, no amount of primal energy can increase their level. In addition, we have also lost tens of thousands of followers. The majority of them came from the newly conquered local forces of over 800,000 troops. Where there is war, there are casualties. It is inevitable. Although the Angel of Love has the ability to resurrect fallen units on the battlefield, the number of Angel of Love is still too few. In the entire Paradise Town, there are only 5 Angel of Love. It is simply impossible to cover the entire battlefield. Especially in the jungle area, the Angel of Love cannot reach there at all. That's why there are such casualties. However, compared to killing over 10 million demons and wild monsters, this casualty ratio seems insignificant. Just as Lin Yu was about to say something, 8-winged Dominion Angel Catherine suddenly handed him a soul orb and said, my lord, the souls of the sacrificed followers are inside this orb. They have not dissipated or gone to the underworld. They pray to you day and night within the soul orb. Although they have died, their contribution to your faith and their lives are the same. Quote. Hearing this, Lin Yu's mouth twitched. Is this what it means to work even after death? Sensing what Lin Yu was thinking, Catherine quickly added, in the future, when you become the eternal true God, you can release these souls of the followers in your divine realm. At that time, they can be reborn in your divine realm. Why can the God of faith make intelligent races become their followers? The reason lies here. Rebirth in the divine realm, eternal life. For intelligent beings, this is an irresistible temptation. Lin Yu's fanatic believers, who are not afraid of war or death, including the weak goblins and dwarves, are the same. It is because they firmly believe that even if they die on the battlefield, their Lord of Holy Light will resurrect them in the divine realm and they will be reborn as divine beings. This is good news. Lin Yu reached out and took the soul orb. He could clearly sense that the souls inside the orb were constantly praying to him. A large amount of faith power emerged every moment, merging into his body. These glorious fallen followers deserve their final destination. Lin Yu solemnly put away the soul orb and said, when I become a god, I will help them regain new life. They will become the first beings in my divine realm. Catherine said, praise you, merciful Lord. Lin Yu asked, what about the Angel Legion? Any losses? Catherine said, a very small number of angels died, but surely and the others resurrected them. Indeed, angels also have their own desires. They prioritize taking care of their own. Actually, even if they were not resurrected by the Angel of Love, it wouldn't matter much. Because angels possess their souls and indestructible angelic hearts. By consuming half of the summoning gold coins, Lin Yu can use the angelic hearts to resurrect fallen angels. Therefore, angels are the least of Lin Yu's concerns. Lin Yu said, have the unit legions quickly clean up the battlefield. Darkness is about to descend. I believe there won't be as many undead creatures appearing tonight as there were last night, but we still can't let them get close to the town. Yes, my lord. Catherine respectfully withdrew. As Lin Yu expected, the number of undead creatures gathering tonight was indeed greatly reduced. It was even less than 1/10 of last night. Paradise Town was already more than capable of dealing with such enemies. Just as Lin Yu was counting the spoils with the help of Secretarian, Elena, and ancient great elf Doris, two good news suddenly arrived. The first good news was that the Mountain Giant team was about to arrive at Paradise Town. The second good news was that the City of Angels was completed. This is a double joy. Was completed. This is a double joy. Was completed.